Yeah, I'll be next. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, call meeting order. Welcome to the February meeting of the zoning board. North Greenwich Fire District number 1. I've done that maybe a few times too, right? North Greenwich Fire District number 1. And please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing a moment of silence for deceased members of the district, particularly noting the passing of DFD President and past Assistant Chief PJ Facto. Right. Roll call, please.
Ryan.
Here.
Rich.
Here.
Nick. Here. And here.
Public session will be at the end of the meeting. Anybody having any comments for the public session, if you stay for it, or if you're in Zoom land or you use Zoom land, you can submit comments to our administrative assistant at one word, admin assistant, ADMINASSISTANT, admin assistant at ngfd.org. So get any comments or questions that you may have for the public session into we'll deal with it at the end. We'll jump to the building district, district building report, the wine upgrade. Turn to Joe. We'll start right off. Joey, what do you got?
Short list this month. In relation to the roof, we thought we had the leak. It's still leaking a little bit. I think it was from work when the HVAC was done and the greenfield was leaking. I was up there, I tightened all the nuts and bolts and all that. And if we get a nice day, I'll go up there and silicone and everything. It wasn't a leak, it was like one of my drip once in a while. I've been in contact with Bob and stuff like that, so we got it under our, we'll figure it out.
You don't think it was condensation, though?
No, it was water was coming right through the greenfield, right through the electrical box, So I mean, it wasn't a lot. That's why I thought, because when I went up there, the greenfield was only hand tight. So I mean, and I don't know if that's vibration loosened it, whatever. I mean, I've been doing that stuff a lot of years. I've never had greenfield loosen up.
Say, is there a different fitting they could use, or is there a different fitting they could use? Or
no, it's all greenfield. Okay. So that's underhand. I mean, it's not leaking. We'll take care of it by silicone or something. The dishwasher, I had the repairman over there. He's got to get a small 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch clear tube that was a pickup tube for the detergent. He found that was just dry rotted and broke. So he thinks that's the only thing that was the matter with that. He's got to get them parts and come back. In relation to the snow plowing, I had a conversation with Bob. We did have a neighbor over there that when the town plowed, and I understand plowing, I do it myself, he buried a car over there. It was a neighbor's car, I think. And I don't know how they showed it or whatever it out, but whoever plowed it, I can understand plowing, but he didn't need to bury the car the way he did.
You buried a car across the way?
Well,
No, in our parking lot.
Oh, in your lot?
Yeah,
that was Michael Vichay's son's car.
yeah,
He's one of our tenants. He's supposed to park on our
Yeah.
lower driveway. Candace told him to park it there.
yeah.
After the third time, Keith was just like, look, I really gotta get this done, so I'm just plowing back.
But I guess I'm sticking up
letting you
for somebody I don't have to stick up for.
Yeah.
I'm just saying when you plot, I mean, it was 3 foot, 4 foot back,
Oh, wow.
but I mean, you guys can take care of it.
Okay.
And the ice and snow, we took care of a lot of that, because I saw your text or whatever, and, we took a lot of care of that, so. In reference to the copy machine, I think the one that you sent over there for us to have as a loaner or whatever, it just needs to get serviced maybe, because the copies are really no good. They look like they got pepper shakers all over them. They're not clear copies.
I wonder if dust scattered out of it.
I don't know, if the copy machine is working like it is, I know why you guys got rid of it. And you guys got a new one, and we got
It was
the,
the district one.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, if we got a hand-me-down that wasn't really working over here, I mean, let's get a service man over there and just look at it, please.
All right.
You know? And with the, in reference to the renovation, did we get a hold of Ed this month for any kind of communication?
Did we?
Yes.
Bob, can you?
No,
We haven't- I don't think we had anything.
No, we did not, because it was in, you had directed us last month to do something I believe you're gonna be.
We're gonna talk about that a little bit in a bit.
Okay, and the last thing is, the members, that are around there a lot, they want to kind of clean up downstairs a little bit in the ready room, maybe hang a new TV, get a couple more comfortable chairs, so when they're down there hanging around, it's a little bit more comfortable, and if they don't want to just go upstairs and, you know, hang out up there, they can have that little ready room right now with a couple of chairs or whatever they want to do, you know. That's in the works right now. They're looking into what they may want for it. It wouldn't be any probably.
Yeah, come back with something more formal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be anything that you guys would pay for. It might be just a television, a couple of chairs. That would be probably our responsibility anyways. But we'll just see what they want, you know?
See what the feel for what they want to do. I know some of those chairs and that they use out in the engine bay are, they're, you know, they're pretty well beat.
Yeah, well, they just got new ones, so they just
Okay.
got 3 or 4 new ones over there, so. So I can tell the members next month when I go back that you guys are looking into the renovation more, whatever you.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk more about that as we move forward tonight.
Okay,
We did do some work on it, it's just we didn't get it involved.
okay. And I think that's what I have for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Joey? All right, we'll move on. Department President's Report. I see Steve here representing the Freesville as Vice President. What do you got there?
We have 2 membership applications that came in. On February 3rd, we voted in Freesville, both Robert Stackton and Nicholas Clemenzi.
Okay. Anything else?
We had a application for request for the Super Bowl gathering here.
Got that here. We got another one also. We'll talk. You want to do it right now? We got two building request uses for the Freesville station. One is my fault. It's post-dated. Actually, it was submitted in time, but there was no commissioners meeting. There was a gathering here yesterday, party that was as a Super Bowl party. And it was a last minute deal. I'm going to explain it fully. It came up as a result of some of the camaraderie that was everybody was feeling immediately after PJ died. And a bunch of guys sitting around after a call were like, yeah, we had to do something to keep some of this stuff up and going and, you know, keep people interacting with each other. And why don't we have a Super Bowl party? And before you know it, we were having a Super Bowl party, and it wasn't like till 2 days before that you even thought of, oh, geez, the building used form. So I made some phone calls, right? Make sure we're aware of it. And it happened very quickly. So my apologies for that one. I will take steps to see that something like that doesn't happen again. My fault. The other one is dated, oh God, it's written by Keith, so I gotta, anybody that knows Keith's writing, March 30th, he's looking to do a bloodmobile here for the American Red Cross. Looking to use just this room, I believe, the meeting room. No food or beverages, no alcohol. He's got a point of contact from Red Cross listed, and it's been approved by the fire company. So, is there a motion to approve?
I'll let them, I got a facility use permit for the same date myself, so.
Oh, for the same date?
Yep.
Oh, you got to put one in for the same date?
Yeah, but that's farther ahead, so.
Okay.
I'll let them do a motion.
Is there a motion to approve the tour, or do you want to think about it a little? Anybody?
That I think motion.
Okay, that's a motion. Dan, you on in on it? Yep. Dan seconds it. Is this gonna be a problem for you down the road? We'll just, okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Carries. So those are approved. Anything else?
Nothing further to report.
Nothing further. Wine School President's Report, Adam, is he on the?
They did submit a report, but there's no report. So they,
Okay, I saw that no
Right.
report there. I think
meaning it, I think that's how they're gonna communicate some of
No
their,
report is
which
no-
is good.
okay,
You know, their secretary will send it over, but there was no action needed.
I saw the 3 or 4 things listed. I don't know if that was your document or his.
Yeah, Bob, there's nothing for the president.
The chief just said there's nothing for the president. Thank you.
All right, approval of prior month's minutes. We got both the January minutes and the organizational minutes. They're in your file. They were in Dropbox. Everybody had a chance to read them over?
Yes.
Any corrections? I saw one sentence that I had to read about 3 times, but I finally realized what he was trying to, what I was trying to say when I said it. Bob wrote down what I was trying to say, which is the way I said it. But that's perfect. Is there a motion to approve both sets of minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Nick, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? That carries. Let's take it care of. Right. Jump to the treasurer's report. What do you got for us?
Okay, here comes the bank reconciliations for your review. On the treasurer's report, you can see that the money market account has a reconciled balance of $368,005.06. Of that amount, $103,599 for capital reserve equipment, $212,200 is for capital reserve building, $52,204 is for capital reserve repairs. Now, of course, we have not yet received our tax revenues yet from the town. So the capital reserve building and equipment will increase by $122,000 each. We did earn $3.51 worth of interest on the money market account. Checking account has a reconciled balance of $93,881.70, earning 77 cents worth of interest. Attached are copies of the bank reconciliations for both accounts and a list of all the checks that were cut during the month of well, some of them were on December 31st and then January, but they were approved in January. It's just I was trying to keep all the costs for 2021 in the year 2021. So it made the annual report a little easier. So got that done. The auditors were in last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so we're in good shape there. Also, I emailed out the RFP for your review for getting requests for audit quotes, okay? And I have the dates on there. I don't know if Derek just wants to approve my dates and make sure they did that all right. And you had me add one other part last week, I think, or last month, so I did that. So maybe you could review that and take action on that next month or so, so we can get it out.
Yeah, that's not, when I looked at it, I was like, ooh, this is a complicated document to be acting on tonight.
Yeah,
And then I realized that it's not, they don't have to, that goes back to us August 1st, so it's like.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to put the current auditors, get their stuff done.
Okay.
And then go out and bid sort of, and so they don't beat me up too bad,
We get time.
although they know we're going out. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and then I just also, Bob will probably bring this up. I did email you just now a little bit of a long-term budget and
Just now email it.
yeah, acquisition, apparatus replacement and so forth. So we go over that later on.
Second request for Sean. Can we put in Dropbox, I know you've done this other years, like a copy of our budget, just so if we want to reference it, we can kind of find it.
It is in there.
Where would I?
If you
where would I
just,
look?
you know what, I'll just carry it over month to month, but it's in there under 2022. It is there.
Back up. to the
So
year.
all I'll do is just keep including it every
Well, if
month.
it's in there, I don't
Yeah.
think we need
If you go to 2022, you should see it.
Every once in a while, I click once too far in Dropbox.
But I'll include it every month, Dan. It's just as easy. Then it's in your whole spreadsheet. I'll do that.
And any other questions for Sean? Regarding the treasurer's report? Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report? Right. Made by Brian. Seconded by Nick. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? That carries. All right, approval of the monthly bills. A pretty comprehensive list. Nick went through them again, so a little mistake there. I think we kind of have to step up and do it. So, Nick, see anything that we need to?
All good.
I looked them over. Resolution to approve. Nick's made the resolution. Any discussion? Or actually, we need a second first. Second by Anthony.
I'll second.
Second by Brian. Any discussion? None of us are listed on it as recipients. So you all vote. Roll call, vote, please. John.
Brian,
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
So $358,556 worth of bills. So it's a pretty significant. But
Some of these won't be paid until the very end of the month. We get our tax revenues from the town, but
just so everybody's aware, 225,000 of that is to the FIS for the LoSAP, and 57.5 in rough numbers is to VFIS property casualty for the donation for our insurance. So January is always the month we. Oh, and we also have the 41,500 for Spencer County Bureau of Finance for VFIR for our VFDL. So January bills paid in February, the month that we usually get blank because of all those annual recurrings. All right, invoices taken care of. Correspondence, please.
Yes, Key Bank FDIC insurance assets ending 1/31. Association of Fire Districts, New York State, their December, January Fire District Affairs Bulletin. FASNY released their awards in various programs for the year. Commissioner Training Certificate for Dan Garrett, attending his mandatory training. Resignation letter from David Wilson for Commissioner effective 1/31/22. Disclosure of interest notification, letter from Daniel Wilson Jr. from Wyanskill. New York State Association of Fire Chiefs training opportunity. Also sent that out to all the chiefs. We received notification from Bank of America that Mark Mason's credit card account was officially closed. There's a Association of Fire Districts of New York 2022, their leadership summit training in May. We received a check from Brian McCray for a Verizon phone purchase for $199.99. The announcement for the Association of Fire Districts Capital Area for their officers reception on March 12th. The FASNY Recruit New York, which will be held April 23rd through 24th announcement. And last, we received a client advisory from Hannigan Law Firm regarding the new changes in the open meeting laws.
One thing I noticed on these, and I don't even have Adam's email, I can probably get that from you, but things like the December, January Fire Districts Affairs, the FASD Awards Program, and then the down lower, the FASD Recruit New York. When we see things that are like, we have interest and have things that the presidents can benefit, there's no sense in waiting for our meeting to forward them to the president. So, because they're open public documents. If you want to just send that out to two companies, because I know there's stuff there about scholarships, awards programs, training notices. There's a lot of good information in them that I think that if the president saw it, would give them a jump on being able to do some of that stuff. So don't bother waiting until our meeting and send it to them. Get it right out to them and let them benefit from it.
Will do.
Thank you. Any questions on any correspondence?
You know that Association of Fire Districts Leadership Summit? I doubt I'd be able to attend, but That actually looks pretty good. I think it's good that we have a presence at
I've
these.
got that down under new business, Dan. Like I looked at it too, and I looked at my calendar. I know it's something David and I went to last year, but only for 2 days of it. It was a three, I want to say it was a 3.5 day summit last year. We got out there for 2 days of it, and we didn't even get to see the whole thing really because of the time constraints. And a lot of the stuff we saw, we were there for the last 2 days, a lot of the stuff we saw, they were referencing, oh, yesterday at the discussion we were talking about, and it was like that. Or at Tuesday's discussion, we discussed, and it was like, we didn't have that initial knowledge. So it was but it was a good, it was a well put together, well organized event. And I think we'll talk about it more in the business. But thank you for bringing it up. Anything under old business? Anything under old business? No. All right, let's jump to new business. We got some things noted here. We'll talk about them and see if there's any other additional new business. Number 1, Vanderbilt annual service agreement through 12/31/23, standardization policy. Bob and I had a little discussion today about what a standardization policy is. But I guess Bob got his information from Terry. So I don't know who wants to start this. Bob's pointing at Terry. So Terry, can you talk to us a little bit about what a standardization policy is?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, you've got obligations that with respect to bidding and RFPs and things of that sort. We did, actually, the best example is the large diameter hose. We did a standardization on that last year. When it came time to talk about the service to the vehicles, arguably that could be something that exceeds the $35,000 service, contract. I don't know that it will, but
Hopefully it won't.
well,
It could.
but it could. And it's one of those things that can you reasonably say that it won't? Not necessarily. So there was obviously a consensus, or I perceived to be a consensus, that the board was going in the direction to make sure that the fleet maintenance was done on a uniform basis, that there were nothing was overlooked, there were nothing fell through the cracks, that we have the same or similarly trained technicians and the same skill sets brought to the maintenance on all the apparatus across all platforms, no matter what the apparatus is. So with the expectation that the board was going to settle on a vendor or possibly vendors, but primarily a single vendor, I thought it best that the board, standardize, basically memorialize that, the reasons for doing it, the efficiencies, the bullets that you dodged, a couple of bullets you didn't dodge, with respect to things that just didn't get caught because of the way the bulk of the way the service was done on vehicles over the years. So that if you opt to go with a single service provider, you said basically we're standardizing this, just like, again, we standardize the large diameter hose we want uniformly across the whole district. So that's the purpose of it. It's so that if there's ever a question in the future, why didn't you farm all this stuff out to various manufacturers or various dealer authorized whatevers, you can say, no, we addressed this, we looked at it, and then I think the truck company being the most prominent one that we just kind of, there was that big miss on the turntable was done, and there were other things that you had to have done, that, and then there was a radiator issue, and there wasn't a radiator issue, so that I think the board's come to, at least from my observations, come to a point where we need to have some uniformity and some structure in the way going forward, the way the apparatus is PM'd and serviced. So the standardization will mean you can select a provider or perhaps more than one if you need to service your rates going forward.
Bob, do you have anything you want to add before we discuss it a little bit?
Well, just a couple highlights to the preventive maintenance agreement, that there will be an annual pump test done on of course, the 6 large pieces. And that's something that, again, we sort of lost track with. And then the board had even talked maybe about doing something every other year, but this would get you on an every year basis that the pumps get certified. So there's a certified pump test. Then the other highlight to this is we would lock in the labor rate to the end of 2023. And, you know, just like every company, they up their labor rates every year. So we would hopefully for 2023, we would see even more of a savings there. And then for preventive maintenance, they would waive certain travel fees that they're charging us right now. They're charging us full rate for travel fee. And then if they had to charge us a travel fee, would be reduced to $60 instead of their full hourly. So we're doing a lot of the maintenance, the small stuff where they have to come back and do some small work in the stations that they can do. So in that point, we're going to save some money. So it's just some highlights to it.
Thanks.
Some of the discussions that led up to this, so everybody's aware. Well, first of all, we're not talking about the entire fleet. We're talking about the 6 full-size pieces. With the district running 6 full-size pieces now instead of the 9 or 10 that we were at one point close to the consolidation. It's felt we got to keep it in the best shape possible. We can't have misses. We can't have stuff that one vendor thinks another guy's taking care of, and the other guy thinks that he's taking care of it. Or we can't have things that we're just going to let it go and see if we can get by with it. We got to keep this apparatus in top shape, and that's going to require a little higher level of attention. We looked at some of the things that some of the expenditures that had to be made to even get 426 to a point that was marketable, and clearly some of that was 2 different vendors working on it, thinking that the other guy will get that. And that temporary repair that was made to the exhaust system is the one that keeps jumping out at me, where that could have been a life safety issue. That could have been a life safety. I could have burned the fire truck up too. If it wasn't a life safety issue, I could have put it on fire. Where somebody just made, well, we'll just wrap that hole in the exhaust manifold with reinforced insulating tape and run it for a while. That doesn't even pass near safety inspection. And it was uncovered when we knew we had to replace the muffler, and they tried to unbolt the muffler, and they had to take the manifold down and do it. They took the manifold down. And this is awful light, and they unwrapped the tape and realized that there was no pipe underneath it in many places. So it's a necessary thing. The other thing was the annual pump test. We had apparatus consecutive year after year after year after year was being serviced, and they were checking the box that, yep, the pump's good, but that wasn't a pump test. And then when we went to test all the pumps last summer, we had to send them out for work, get them up to the point that they could pass the test. So that's what's kind of what predicated some of this stuff. So people are wondering why we're doing it. I mean, it may seem like a pretty extreme action, considering what the board, we piecemealed it all over the years. It may seem like pretty extreme action, but talking to other districts and larger districts, particularly how they handle maintenance, this seems to be the way to go. We're only going to lock in for 2 years. So if it's a bust, we'll go back to what we were doing, find another vendor or whatever the choosing of the board is at the time. The other point I want to make is because it only includes the 6 big trucks, the cheese cars, the utilities, the small pieces. They'll still all be sent to local garages both sides of town, so that those local vendors will still get those. They'll get the inspections, the brakes, the exhaust systems, and tires. That kind of stuff will all be done at local vendors. So we're not taking. They're not handling the big trucks anyway. So that's not an issue. So do we need to take an action on that tonight, or was this just a?
No,
It's ready to go. Everybody's had it. Everybody had a chance to read it.
Those are 2 things. One is just, it's a typo, but we should definitely fix it before we sign it. Under 427, it's not $24,500.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's
Yeah,
zero.
thanks. Yep.
And I'm just curious, why is the service per year more expensive for 9.7 and 427 versus like 9.6?
Good tell you. Pump size, do they do it by pump size?
They may have.
The
That
newer
could be,
rigs are
yeah.
more expensive.
Yeah.
They may do it by pump size. You're talking about 2,000 GPM pump
Right.
versus a,
I'm just curious.
what's 9.6, 1250?
I mean, I don't have it from, I guess, different rescue, is rescue 9 cheaper than 9.6? But using the pump.
Yeah.
Same price. That's even less expensive.
Hey, Bob.
That's the same price as 9.6.
Bob,
Adam, Chief,
Go ahead,
go ahead, Adam.
both of those trucks have DEF on them. That's a significant expense right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they have disc brakes too, so.
We'll look it over. Any other questions, comments? Pardon?
No, we already caught the typos.
Yep.
Consider a resolution then to approve the contract that's been proposed.
I'll make it.
Made by Brian, second? Anybody? I'll second it. Nobody?
Second.
Dan seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Thank you. That's taken care of. Open commissioner's position. Terry, can you, I think I know what the answer is, but I want to make sure the procedure for filling an open commissioner's position.
Well, the position can only be filled until the end of this year.
Right.
I don't know how many years Dave had left on it.
He had two years, being 2022 and 2023.
Okay, so it'll be a 1-year term and a 5-year term right here.
Next year.
Next year. Well, this year.
Yeah, at the end of this year. Yes, thank you.
The board can choose whatever procedure it wants to follow to replace. And there's some indication out there you don't even have to do it, although I would strongly urge you to fill the vacancy because things happen and sometimes you're down to 2 commissioners and you have 3 to do.
I had a commissioner call me on Friday, a commissioner from a district down in central New York. And I actually gave him your name. You don't know if you're going to reach out to you or not. They were down 1 commissioner because of somebody moved out of town or something. And then there was a big blow up at the last meeting and 2 resigned. So they're down to 2 commissioners. And they're trying, he was like, how do we fill these up? How do we fill these vacancies? So I know what's happened elsewhere. And you don't have to give them a free advice, believe me.
It's like the same Jude.
Yeah.
Hopeless cause. But no, so the board, this isn't the first time this board's encountered this. I don't know what I can't like recall what the precedent is, but we do interviews, letters of interest, what have
I
you.
think that's what we've done in the
In the
past.
past, we sent letters to both fire departments and we posted it on the website and asked any interested candidates to forward their letter of intent or interest and their resume.
All right, so what would be a reasonable time? If we were to say, what would be a reasonable time for office staff here to prepare something out and then for people to respond and reply to it? You think we can do it all in 3 weeks and have it ready for the next meeting?
I mean, it's already kind of a buzz in both departments anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think everybody have it,
And actually,
maybe by like the Wednesday before the meeting.
if we could
so-
have it like a week before, that would give us a
Yeah.
chance to circulate it. And we couldn't really discuss it unless we had a formal meeting.
Right, but at least we could scan the resumes and stuff and forward it to you before the meeting, so you'd have that to digest ahead of time.
Okay. I'll let the office, my suggestion would be to let the office staff figure out an actual schedule, and we can get it out by this date, so it gives them a week or 2 to return. But if we can get everything back by that Wednesday before, that would be perfect.
Okay.
Guys good with that?
With the expectation of seating someone before the April meeting.
Seating someone at, let's say it'd be March meeting, seating someone at the April meeting, that I don't think I'll be at. I'm scheduled to be on vacation. I was well out of town, so.
Zoom.
Yeah, maybe I could zoom in. On a Monday night, I probably could. All right, do we need a motion on that, or we're just gonna go? All right, cool, do it. the open commissioner's position, Bob, did we get everything back? I know he had a badge, he had an iPad, he had a ID, he's got keys, fobs and all that.
Yeah, I know the fob situation was corrected. We took care of the administrative, IT stuff was done. His iPad had been turned in previously. The only thing that we do have to get is the ID and the badge. That's
ID and badge.
that's the only thing he does have.
Try and-
Not all last, but we had been letting the person keep the badge. It's like a,
Yeah, they were returning it, and then it was up to the last time. I'm just, what the
Yeah, no,
board did is you asked for it to be returned, and then the board.
Because Joe Hogan asked if he could keep his,
Yeah.
make a memorial out of it, and then you, at that point, you said they could keep their badge.
Right.
I
So
don't have a problem with that. If that's the old
Yeah.
practice.
Well,
standard
that's what happened like 2 months, 3 months ago or something like that. Yeah.
Scott, did you get this? Sorry, you can keep yours? Keep your badge. You got one?
right, that's
I
what
never
I'm
got
saying.
one, so.
Yeah. They've been handing them back in, and then it was good. The board was going to do something. So
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get Dave's back and then we'll get the backlash.
Yeah.
All right, I'll try and give him a call, talk to him about it. All right, New York State Health Department, consolidation of BLS first response EMS numbers to one district number. Again, Bob and I have had some discussion on this. I know a little bit of the background, but I'll let him, he knows about it better than I, so I'll let him explain what's going on here.
well, just very similar to the FDID number, where we combined the two departments into one number. We can do the same for the BLS FR number. Essentially, the two departments provide the same service level of first response. And after talking to Mr. Farrell, who's one of our representatives over at the health department, he's like, this happens all the time. He said it's an extremely easy process for the district to do, and it makes sense because of cost savings, efficiencies, time. There's just so much involved on a say a 3-year cycle and an annual cycle of renewals that we have to do 2 times, where we would only be doing it once. And it has no bearing on our CME or CMU's training. It actually would probably streamline and be easier for our vendor that does the CME training. So it's just the board saying, yes, this is what we want to do. There's a whole bunch of forms that the staff would work on and then get signatures from the board. And then the last step of it is sending all the forms into the health department. Would be 2 letters, one from each chief, that they are surrendering their EMS number. And then the health department takes all that together and gives you a new number for the district.
So it's on PCRs instead of Jeffrey still using 4199. What is Wayne still using? Do we know offhand?
It's like 08 something, I think.
So instead of using those 2 numbers, it would be a new number issued for the district.
That is correct.
It's like the 42044.
Exactly.
Now, you explained to me that there was a immediate cost savings in some kind of lab fee or something.
Well, yeah, there's the laboratory lab fee that we have to pay for our testing, technically, for like glucose, and it's just a service that we have to pay annually for, and we're going to save money there. We're going to save money just in our vendor who has to do all this paperwork, which he's actually doing it right now, but that's beside the point. It just so happens it's coming due right now. It just makes sense to do this for the district. And why have 2 when we can really have 1 and save money?
Any discussion on this? Probably need to approve doing it. I was involved, I'll make a motion, we go ahead and do it. I'll show them the motion. Anybody want to second it? Second by Nick. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? That's carried. All right. And the last thing listed under new business, Dan had brought up, mentioned already, the Association of Fire Districts meeting. As I said, Dave and I attended that last year. We got a lot out of it. And we had talked at the time about, yeah, definitely going back next year, doing it full term and getting the most out of it. A lot of good information, a lot of good networking, commissioners from virtually all over the state, a lot from the Capital District. And it's worth doing. We've got the money in the budget in general training, so it's not like it's gonna break the bank. We've got, I think we've got a while before we got to register. But I would say, everybody look at the calendars, figure out what they can do. It's also open to, one of the things the Association of Fire Districts has been pushing is that their training is open to secretary treasurers, purchasing agents, and fire chiefs. So, and they see a lot of benefit in those people, those folks also getting the training so that they understand the roles. Adam, if you're listening, and you can pass it on to William, you two look at your schedules as well. And if you two can't go and you want to pass it down to one assistant, I wouldn't object to that either. I can't see saying 6, but if we get 1 or 2 chiefs to go out there, that would be a wonderful thing. Brandon's here, he can take that message back to William as well. Take a look at your schedules, let Bob know what everybody's schedule looks like. Again, if you can only go out for a day or 2, that's fine. It's turning stone, so it's not like you got to get up at 3 in the morning to make it there in time for a morning session. But, questions or comments on that? Not to approve anything at this time. We don't have any lists. Okay, let's move on. Oh, anything else under new business? Anybody got anything else? No? Good. All right. Move on to chief's reports. Adam's on the Zoom, or on yeah, he's on Zoom. So everybody else is on YouTube. Adam, why don't you go ahead with your report, please? Where'd he go?
All right,
Adam?
how's that?
There you go.
Okay, so you guys have the stats for January. As you can see, things are happening. We're staying busy. As far as purchases go, what you guys were requested this month, a lot of loose ends. In going through the EMS stuff, we came up with a lot of shortfalls. So we're looking to get that up to date. Also some miscellaneous items, the CO tags. I know Commissioner French, you had an email about that earlier. Some blade holders, miscellaneous purchases. Basically what we're doing this month is trying to fill some of the voids that we found, take care of some of the items that have come up on the purchase list the last couple of years, but they hadn't been high on the priority list because other high dollar items took their place. Tomorrow, bear with me, tomorrow night is going to be the district drill. It's going to be a classroom on ice and water rescue hosted at Wine&Skill. So I think that's going to be a great drill for both departments. Get us ready for the season, and get us prepped. Wine&Skill is going to be hosting Battalion 3 on Thursday night. Looking to have some good discussions with the 2022 chiefs from our neighboring departments. Another thing I want to bring up to the board is the iPads for the 7s and the rescues. We created the subcommittee amongst the 2 departments. It's a committee of 6, and we had a first meeting the other night. And to be quite honest with the board, I was thoroughly impressed by the caliber of the people on the committee. They know what they're talking about, and they're highly motivated to make these not only a effective tool, but an efficient tool in the fire district. So I was very proud, and I shared it with my DeFrietsville cohorts that we got some great people working on that project.
From the district,
Um,
Sean, Adam, I think from the district's perspective, we're probably going to be able to be ready to move on that tonight with what we've got in front of us as well. So we'll be moving ahead with that project, full steam ahead.
okay. I know we kind of penciled in for your April meeting to kind of give you guys a formal presentation from the committee. You know, there's a little bit of homework that needs to be done, some questions need to be answered, so on and so forth. So we tentatively penciled April commissioners meeting to kind of really give you guys the full story. I spoke to Mr. Kerwin about our key fob situation. Some of our members, their key fobs are a little less than useful at this point in its service life. So I'm going to be generating a list for Mr. Kerwin so we can get those replaced. Also along that same line is our minitors. I know that those, you know, played out in the wash when they were brand new. But, you know, batteries are starting to come off term and the charging cords and stuff like that. So we currently have a project going on to get those things back up to snuff. Surplus equipment. We've kind of been cleaning house lately. Car 2 and Cap Monroe. They've been going through our surplus gear plus surplus equipment. So a lot of that is going to be coming Mr. Durivage's way, so he can do what he does best. As far as Chiefs vehicles, Winesville 2 and Winesville 3 are going to be going into Farah's, kind of get their spa treatment, so to speak, get themselves ready for the year. My vehicle, I also spoke to Assistant Chief Galligan from the Freedsville. The hood latch broke after this last round of ice. So currently working with Fusillos to get that taken care of under a warranty claim. As far as repairs to the apparatus, you know, as you guys saw in the email earlier, Vandermolen came in clutch on 427 with the power steering leak. The truck was down for about 3 hours out of service, and then we were back up and ready to roll. There's still an open work order for Rescue 42 with Vandermolen, and then there's also an open work order on Truck 42 with Garrison, which is that electronic discharge controller. It's been on order for a little bit of time here.
Adam, what's the open work order with Vandermolen on Rescue 42?
Air horns, light board, light bulb on the dash for the fuel gauge of all things, and the license plate, light bulb, and frame holder rotted off of it. So nothing overly critical.
He's ordering parts or something, or?
Well, they have the parts in. It's just when they came for 427, they forgot those, and they got to come back.
Okay.
They were in such a rush to appease me, is what I was told. One of my last items is my officers have a lot of good drills planned. One of them is going out to West Sand Lake and using their training house, which I'd like to thank Mr. Durivage for his assistance with the insurance forms, and also going out to Averill Park for their roof simulator. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Durivage for his assistance getting that insurance form taken care of for that as well. That being said, next month, you guys are going to see a purchase from Home Depot, basically just for the training materials to take care of those 2 drills. You know, basically what I instructed my officers was go to Home Depot, build the list, we'll get the tax exemption, and I'll pay for it with the credit card and then get everything submitted to Mr. Durivage. My last item on the agenda, I know Commissioner French, we'd spoken about loaning a set of turnout gear to Averill Park. I wasn't sure when you or how you want to have that discussion.
Yeah, so I'll address it here quickly. Essentially, Adam, help me here. Help me with the name.
Kyle Keegan.
Kyle Keegan. Kyle Keegan left Wine and Skill, got married. Well, he was a member of Wine and Skill for years, valued member, and got married, built a house out in April Park, Sand Lake. His bride is already a member out there, so he's joining out there. And he's kind of a unique one to fit because he's about 7'7" or something. No, he's tall. He's got to be 6'5", 6'6", maybe 6'7". He's and he's kind of a beanpole at that. So he's got a unique set of gear, and they're going to order him a set of gear, but it's going to take him a while to get it. And there's probably nobody around that's got a spare set of gear that could loan them for him to fit. So I don't, I know we've borrowed gear from, we've loaned gear. It's been a practice, fire departments do that to support each other. Fire districts do that to support each other when there's when there's nothing in the house that will fit, but somebody else happens to have. So I told Adam that I had no problem with it. I thought that email got distributed to everybody. I can't remember. No, I think we were going to bring it up tonight. So that's why it didn't. So anybody, we need a motion to do that. I'll make a motion to do that if to loan the set of gear that belong to that. If you loan a set of gear, the district gear to April Park, Sand Lake Fire District for Kyle to wear until the gear that they purchase for him comes in. So seconded by Dan. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? You're all set with that, Adam. Thanks for remembering it. It wasn't on my list.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
I do have some questions for you, though. Looking at the list, did you get a chance to talk to, we'll ask William about the gas meter tags. He does it for Brandon. I don't think he knows anything about that, but we'll figure that out.
Well, regarding that, Rich, I suppose that's on me because I actually thought that the DeFreedsville side of town had these tags, and my guys got the idea from them, so.
We'll discuss it further here in a few minutes. Then. But you mentioned you went through your EMS supplies and found a bunch of things that were needed to be brought up to date. And I'm looking at this list, and the only two things that I see related to EMS on the list are updating a couple AEDs and a cabinet. Was there supposed to be another list, or is that all you're asking for at this point?
No, that's the two items. The cabinet is the big thing because we need the enclosed storage, and then the two AEDs came up short notice. And once again, I thank Mr. Durivage for his assistance. But basically, we have two trucks that don't have AEDs. So I kind of want to get that taken care of.
All right, that's important. Yeah, I noticed when we were over looking at the surplus equipment that day, I think I made a comment to, I don't remember who was there that day. It was was there. I think David was there. That I didn't like the way some of that EMS equipment was piled up on those shelves, getting dust and everything else. So I think an EMS cabinet is certainly something that's necessary that will help your function. The last thing I got for you, Adam, is it involves this item 8 on your purchase list, this $1,700 kit. I'm not opposed to buying a kit. I certainly see the need for it, but I want Bob to take a look at pricing it out individually. Have you in recent years taken the fast class yourself?
Yes.
All right. My concern is that a rope bag that's set up to be the rope bag off the ladder for lowering somebody isn't appropriate to set up also as the wide area search bag. And looking at what they've got set up here, they're sharing the rope for it. And I don't know how it can do both appropriately. So I want Bob to take a look at pricing them out individually. Some of that looked awful high for what was on that list of equipment. And maybe while he's doing that, you can get with William or Brandon or Danny Sheehan and take a look at how the fast bags are set up on Rescue 9, so we can get some continuity maybe in how they're set up. You know, and after you look at them and they come back and look at this Anderson thing on paper, maybe the decision is we move that way for both. I don't know, but I don't. I'm just concerned with a wide area search bag on the main line is supposed to have a tag or a cone or something every 15 or 20 feet that tell the main person going out, the control person, stop. If you're also using that as you're raising, lowering, I don't know how it goes through, I don't know how it moves through the pulleys. If you don't put that tag or not on it, then there's no continuity to how far out that person stops, and your search arches don't overlap properly. So I don't know how the bag could work for both, and that's what I was really struggling with it. So I think we can move on the others. I see no problem with moving on the others. I just want Bob to take a look at some of what we can do in pricing on pricing that individually. You got any opposition to that or any issue with that?
So just to, maybe save Mr. Durivage some time, before I submitted this, I grilled the officers and Car 3 pretty heavily about it, because, it's not really a common item in the Winesville Fire Department. To be honest, the only ropes we have are on the reels for the ice water rescue stuff. So I grilled Car 3 pretty heavy on it, plus the other officers who are in support of it. This item's been kind of bouncing around our wish list for the last couple of years, because we don't own any of these type of items. We don't have any of this life safety rope. We don't have any of the miscellaneous hardware that goes along with it. So I actually told John to look into buying the items individually, and in his research, buying this bag is the cheapest route. So I have no problem with Mr. Durivage, doing what he does. Sometimes he makes magic happen. So, but that's where we're coming from with this kit. This isn't something that was done on a whim. I did my diligence as the car one before submitting this to make sure that, this is something we're actually going to use.
And I'll let Bob do that, and I'll also try and talk to John, if you don't mind, to get a better idea of what was in his mind with it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, very good. Consider that a motion to approve these purchases. I should send them around first. Send them down. No, yeah, it's all the Dropbox. Everybody's got it in their Dropbox, but I want everybody to get a chance to see on paper. Consider a motion to approve these purchases as well. You're moving your resolution. Oh, that's right. It's a resolution. We're buying stuff. I'll learn that. I'll learn that. I'll accept the rope. Pardon? Well, we can approve the rope up to that amount. It's thinking that if Bob can get it piece it together cheaper.
Well, and I'll work with the chiefs and just, you talk to John and then I'll work with them and we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out, right? So we'll resolution to approve all of it then, with the price on the rope, but not necessarily that kit. Second, made by Brian, second by Nick. Any discussion? Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
And by the way, Sean, we made a motion and approved it. I don't even remember who made a motion. Without it. You stepped out of the room.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay. I made a note myself to remember to tell you.
Going back to the bag, but it is a two-purpose bag. One has life safety rope, and the other end of the bag has your wide open search.
Oh, right. So it comes out both ends. I didn't understand that reading. I didn't understand it that way reading it. So okay, maybe it does work. I'd like to see it. It takes care of both needs. The Freesville Chiefs report. Brandon, did you give it?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us what you got going.
So I know Williamson, Bob, you the email about the items you want to touch on. The first one we have here is Captain Strasburg and LinkedIn working on the EPCR transition, as paper PCRs are no longer acceptable by the state. So that's still a ball in motion, but It is being worked on. The other thing relating to EMS is we have to identify a vehicle, obviously our first response vehicle. The New York State Department of Health is going to spot check it and issue it a sticker as a first response BLS vehicle. Similar to the way ambulances are spot checked at hospitals and make sure that all the proper equipment is there. Now currently needs to be done on a single vehicle that is designated for first response EMS, which we obviously have. So the next thing I'll touch on is Lieutenant Coutinho is looking to take a flashover simulator out in Connecticut. It's going to be $200 for the course itself. She's not requesting any other sort of lodging or food or anything like that. The only thing she's looking for is obviously the training request to be approved and then permission to take the district gear out of district to do the training. There's no flashover simulators coming up anytime soon in this region. So she's looking to go to Connecticut for that.
Brandon, is that the same as like the one we had here with the moving can?
Yeah.
Same exact.
Yeah, it's just continuous traiing, you know.
I mean, same company, same trainers.
I don't know if it's the same company. It might be, it might not be. I think the one that usually comes here is from out of Buffalo, if I remember correctly.
I think it's state chiefs.
Yeah.
As state chiefs, and the instructors are out of, well, instructors are theoretically across the state.
Yeah.
But a couple, when they were here, a number of them were from the Erie County area.
Right. So I would imagine it's probably similar, but I don't think it's the same company, same instructor. So just again, a continuous training, potentially getting different perspectives on things. Gear purchase, coats and pants. We're looking to get one set of turnout gear, which is actually going to outfit 2 members fully. We had an issue with a pair of pants that ended up fitting another member. And then we need a coat for that member, and then the other person has a coat. So it's going to kind of be like a pack. So first let's get
One tiny pair of pants, and
Yes.
one bigger coat.
Correct.
Flip fly, I get it.
So
I follow
that one set of gear is going to outfit 2 people completely, which will be good. Boots. Mr. Durivage has the names of the personnel we're looking to get outfitted with boots. We did a gear inspection through one of our first drills of the year and found out that a lot of boots were out of date, expired, or just plain old didn't fit people. So the 7 pairs we have earmarked here for our active interior members. There are other members that need them that are exterior, but we're utilizing the interior members as precedents to get those as quick as we can. The one thing that William sent out was the TSU. We're looking to utilize that more in a traffic fire police support role. The back of our utility truck now is just kind of thrown together with a lot of heavy equipment, the signs, the cones, the bases. We're starting to knock down the weight of things by getting pop-up cones, collapsible cones, and those big rubber cones still serve a purpose. There's no need to get rid of them, but we're looking for a place to store them along with the signs and the heavy bases. So we're going to be utilizing the TSU to do that. In doing so, we're going to send that out for a state inspection to make sure that everything still works properly and it's still a viable trailer to go take out and tow behind the vehicle. That being said, Chief Burkhardt is looking to outfit it with emergency lights, not to respond to emergency mode, but if it's on a scene to illuminate itself and protect the trailer and its contents as well as the people around. That would be done by in-house personnel that are familiar and have a background in electrical wiring within vehicles. Same thing for LED lights on the inside to better illuminate the interior. Again, that would be all stuff that would be in-house. He's got that earmarked up here as item number 2. And then the last thing is something that I brought up not too long ago. Right now, our stations are kind of chock full of trucks, equipment, et cetera. I know it's kind of an odd time, but especially this time of year, I don't think we have to do it the whole year. I'm always one for pulling my car into the bank, washing it. I like a nice, clean vehicle, but right now we don't have that capability in either station. So my recommendation would be similar to how the police department, I think, does it, or at least I know used to do it. They get a couple car wash tickets, maybe 5 or 6 for each vehicle, where they can take it over to Hoffman to go through the touch-free car wash. It's quick. It's not, you're not running it through like the wash boss where you're gonna rip off antennas or swirl up the paint or anything like that with frozen brushes, but it'll keep the vehicles clean, it'll keep them looking nice. You know, it takes 5 minutes to run over there and run through the wash as opposed to pull a truck out here, back it in, the whole nine. Like, I'm all for that, but right now we don't have the room, and I think that would make sense to keep the vehicles well maintained and good looking for the community, so.
When I was chief the second time before DeFriesel was in the district, that's the way we did it. And Ray used to take care of getting enough car wash passes for everybody.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend like.
And you know him and you know how I was about washing the car. You always remind me, it was time to go wash my car.
I don't think we need to spend the money on like an unlimited wash pass or anything like that, you know, maybe 5 or 6. That way you get through the month, through, you know, if you have carryover, if you're not using them.
This
you don't
time
have
of year,
to
if you get them
return
every week or two, that's not bad.
Right, and that's really all, that's what I brought up, that's really all.
If they're not being taken care of, it sends a message to the community that we're supplying these vehicles, the guys can't even take care of them, you know, so.
It also prevents rust and other corrosion and other things.
We don't have a wash bay in either station right now, so.
So that'd be from both departments.
Yes, yep. I would
And
like,
that's nothing new. I mean, back when I was a chief, we provided.
yeah, I would just like to see us if we can move forward on some sort of, you know, I don't know if we gotta get like physical tickets or if there's a code we can punch in that.
I don't know, I know you can use credit cards, chiefs have,
Well, I mean, one chief has a credit card, so if we pass that around, maybe, but.
Bob, can you get a hold of Hoffman's and find out what the easiest way to, we got six cars that need to be periodically brought into me.
Word of
We
warning.
get a stack of tickets, what do we do?
When I was car 2, and I was driving the Chevy Tahoe, and it was the big whip antenna on the roof, I took out the entire car wash over there. There was an electrical short with it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I don't think we
Don't
have
let that
that
happen
many,
again.
no, I don't think we have that many big antennas on our vehicles currently, so, and that's why I wanted to use.
And that's a normal maintenance thing, so I don't think we need to pass a resolution or anything tonight.
We have Bob, I've heard from the North Greenwich dispatcher that the police take their cars over to the wash bus, they supposedly turn the upper rollers off. And they bring police cars through, I don't know if we can ask Chief Keever what, if that's what they
What they
do.
do there?
We'll check out
Whatever the
both.
best
Cops
reaction
roll
is.
in and if it makes it easier.
Whatever the best
to get
reaction
passes,
is.
you know, they can send us a bill and that way
Yeah, that'd be good.
it'll be a lot easier.
I actually got one more thing that's not on this list, I just remembered.
Comment on the
Sorry,
car.
comment on the car wash, but
I guess short term, that's fine, but the surplus should be going away soon, the apparatus should be going away soon, and honestly, the apparatus were laid out the way the station was originally designed, that drive-through bay would be wide open and you would have a spot to wash the cars in this bay. But the first response gets used maybe once a month. Part of the way it was designed, first response brush truck there, you got 2 primal vents right there, you'd have the drive-through bay, so short term, that's fine, but it's gonna be a coming long-term thing. Because we do have the room if we just, the apparatus back the way they were.
good point. Anything else?
Yeah, I got one more thing that's not on the list that just jogged my memory for some reason. Dan Sheehan had submitted, I think it was last month, not formally or anything, I think he sent it to Bob maybe.
Surplus request.
No, not that, it was a standpipe kit. That was pieced out. Has there been any movement on that from?
No, because I spoke to the chief about that
Yep.
and we were supposed to get a little bit more information on that, and I just think the chief's been pretty busy.
Sure.
Okay, it was a busy end of the month.
Yep.
So I think we should work on it this month and have it ready for March.
Sure.
But
It
wasn't that I had more questions. I wasn't clear as to how many, how much,
Okay.
and that's when the chief said, I'm gonna have to get with Dan and get that figured out.
Okay.
Because I've seen it before, so it's not new to me,
Yep.
but I send it to the chief saying, tell me what you want, and he's like, I have to get with Dan. So while I appreciate it comes from the assistant sometimes, I have to go to the chief, and then the chief kind of said, let me get more information.
Sounds good. Thank you. That's all he's got here that I know about.
I got a couple things for you and him before we make a motion to approve these sales. I like the idea of going ahead with those emergency lights for the TSU, if it's gonna be used that way, but I'd really like to see a little bit better explanation of the proposed operation of that. You don't have a lot of guys that are familiar with pulling a trailer, even though it's a small trailer. We only got a couple vehicles that can pull a trailer. So we gotta be careful on how we use it. I don't see those vehicles going to a scene, oh, we need the trailer now, so somebody coming back here to get it, and, so a little better description of how that is gonna operate. Danny, you're ready to say something.
With the lights for the trailer?
Yeah.
And maybe I missed it, I apologize, I was looking something up on the flash over tree. What is that for? It just. I know-
So from my understanding, they want to outfit the TSU, the small trailer out there with a small outfit of emergency lighting for if it's on a scene, a traffic accident, or any sort of fire police related event. It's not going to go emergency mode anywhere, but it can be illuminated with emergency lighting if it's sitting out in the middle of the road directing traffic or part of that ambiance, I guess you would say.
When the TSU was designed, it was to be a pretty much a rehab unit.
Right.
And the idea was it would be inside the perimeter, protected by others. But now if they're gonna use it for, we get a major traffic incident, it's gonna tie up a roadway, close a roadway for a number of hours. This way we don't have to leave an engine out there, we don't have to leave multiple vehicles out there. It can go out there and it'll carry all the barricades and extra cones we need to effectively do it. We can release this, whatever the full size rigs that are there. And then
What's in that trailer now?
Right now, nothing, but it's beginning to be packed with extra fire police equipment, the heavier cones. So like I said, we just started buying the collapsible cones that are much lighter weight. And we have those very big, like 3.5 foot tall rubber cones that weigh about 100 pounds. There's 3 of them. So stuff like that, like the heavier items are going to be moved to the TSU.
There's a stack of barricades, I know.
Yeah, the barricades, the signs,
With the overhead.
I guess,
the bases for the signs are gonna go in there. So,
I guess my initial thoughts, we've had that 14 years, that trailer. I know there's discussion on replacing utility vehicles with new fire police vehicle. We talk every month that money is tight, that we need properly planned, we need a needs analysis, we talked about this in remote. I just think we should really, it's almost $1,000. I think we really should plan this out, what's the plan for the utility vehicle? What's gonna be on that? What's it gonna carry? Where is this equipment gonna go before we spend the money on that, when we really have the intention?
That's reasonable. It's a good segue to something I'm gonna bring up in the next
I mean,
stand.
I want you to have a spot to put all that, but I just think what's fair is fair, and, I think we need a little bit more of a plan, and every month we say we're really gonna.
No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, we got a first response vehicle we don't even use. It can carry cones. And it's emergency lights on. And I'm not gonna leave a trailer. I want to see how it's gonna be used, where it's gonna be used. I was not gonna be used on 990. You shut Route 4 down with a chief's car. So this is more information as to how it's gonna be used, I guess,
It's reasonable.
Plus, we don't even know if it's gonna pass inspection. So I'd say hold on.
Yeah, it's 15 years old. My concern is immediately is the tires.
So you built it, so
Those trailer tires are notorious.
It was 2008. We got it.
It was 2008 we came in.
that's gonna go down to higher soon.
Yeah, but they're gonna look at the tread depth, and they're gonna say the tread depth is fine. Trailer tires dry rot, they look fine, and then they go boom when you take them out on the road, that's because they're dry rot.
I think if it goes down there, it needs tires, just put the tires on. I think we need to wait for another meeting.
Yeah.
For that. It's like
We approve about $170 worth of tags or I'm sorry, $132.55 worth of tags for the 4 meters over in one inch. I looked at these. I don't know why people haven't shown us this before. They're basically heavy duty laminated tag. They got the LEL, the UEL, the exposure limits for CO, all the gases that we monitor. And they're about the size of a little bit bigger than a business card. They clip right to the meters. Really looks like a nice idea. So I sent William and Adam an email that said, why are we just doing this for the meters in one station, not the other? Adam said, as part of his report, he thought we already had them over here. We don't. I would think that was something it's a great idea. It really does look efficient, and nobody can remember that stuff off the top of their head. You know, this is gonna keep people from having to go back and try and look it up either, in a book or in the iPad. They can confirm it in the iPad, they've got it on the tag, the guys inside have the information right there. I just see doing it, and $132. I don't even know how many meters the free flow has at this point. Four, which is the same as mine. So that would be another $132. I would think we would want to do that. So, can you do a resolution then to approve the, what they've requested with the exception, was there any more discussion on the flight program training?
Yes.
Dan, I knew Dan
So-
would go on that.
State Chiefs is offering that in May. And I know there are legal requirements about attending out of state training. It's not available in the state, but if this is what all the other firefighters in the district have received, I think it's pretty important to be consistent. So it is being offered multiple times, but it's offered in Oneida County on May 21st and 22nd. So I'm all for her getting the training, but I think if she could get the same training that everybody else received from a known provider, that would be better. And I think there's a legal requirement.
Here's where we'd be saving money and sending her to down there, is that Sarah can take the training through her own department. Sarah, who's also riding here, can take the training through her own department down there. With Kylie going to it with Sarah. What was it?
Well, it's not so much the money.
Okay,
This is a trainer that,
okay.
this is training that's, hosted by state chiefs that everybody has taken.
What we're worried is gonna happen is, we're gonna come back and we're gonna do 2 applications for tonight, both Kylie and Sarah. And we're gonna.
But you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay.
You get caught in a flashover, you want to be doing what everybody else has already been trained to do. And if we know this has been quality training, offered in state, me, it's more just about the consistency of the training, not to save $75. But you are literally a training expert, I'm not. I don't know.
Not the flashover training, but I know what you're
Do
saying.
you follow me?
I know what you're saying, yeah. We can have that, I can have that conversation, Kylie, if she's gonna have that conversation. So nothing opposed to the training, we just wanted to get it.
It's not about money, it's just,
So have a reapply.
we've had a lot of people go through.
Have a reapply for the same program, everybody can take it in state.
Yeah, if you want us to approve this tonight, I'm fine to approve. When was this one gonna be?
I don't know. It's a good question. That is one thing that was not.
I think it was May.
I think it's on the
It's on the
form.
voucher.
It's on the form.
And this is May also.
Oh, you said May, that's what.
April 24th, this is May 21st. I don't know, it's a known program, we've had people in both departments go through it.
All right, we've got time either way, let's have a conversation with her, she may say, I don't know. Well, Brandon, you can talk to her. Or have Dan, because he's the training chief. Fine. Consider them,
But we wanted to have the train, flash over.
Yeah, no, I did. Consider then a resolution to do the Hicks boots, the set of turnout gear, and the, whatever the final cost of the, presume the 130.55 for the tags for the meters, so that we have the same tags on the same meters in the tank. Consider that resolution by Brian, seconded by Nick. Any discussion, any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Dan.
All right, moving on. Let's see. Standing committee reports, apparatus equipment and needs committee. Bob made a note here that we've already got our annual hose testing scheduled. So the chiefs are aware, September 19 and 20. We're well out there, so we got plenty of time to plan for it. Under equipment, there was a question that came up during the month, and I appreciate Adam drilling into it, and especially appreciate the way Bob reacted to it, drilled into it. We received an email from the Melrose Fire District wanting to know if or how we could replace a portable radio that they lost here during the flooding. And it certainly wasn't a timely request. And I mean, I had heard about the portable radio anecdotally back around the time of that, but then there was never any claim, there was never any paperwork, nobody ever said anything, and it just kind of went away in my head, and I'm sure it did for others. But then for them to come back more than 6 months later and say, hey, can you buy us a portable radio? We lost it at your incident. It's like, huh? And then in their email, they indicated that the county had indicated to them that it could probably be recovered through the county's claim on the disaster, storm disaster. And then when Melrose contacted the county on it to follow up, the county said, oops, we forgot, it's too late. And so Bob followed up with the county and applied a little pressure there and said, hey, you guys were supposed to do this. What are we doing here? And as it turned around, we put a little pressure on the county, and thanks to Bob's arm twisting or whatever it was he did.
It was nice.
You were nice. Okay, you were nice. I know you were nice. The county found a portable radio for Melrose, so that went away. So for Adam, thank you for Adam for jumping on it right away as soon as you got it, and thank you to Bob for taking care of it. I guess just goes to point out, when we hear about one of these anecdotal things, it probably requires a little more follow-up. The last thing I got under apparatus, equipment, and needs committee. This is something that has been kicked around here. Danny just hit on the root of it a little while ago, and something Brian said earlier in the meeting, and Nick and I had a discussion. This has been around. We talk every month about we got to plan things out better. We got to think these things out. We don't do things that we do things that overlap each other, but we don't take them into consideration of each other. We're talking about what are we going to do, or how we know what we're going to do. Not exactly, but we know that we are going to renovate over the next couple of years the Lionsville Fire Station. We know exactly how we're going to do that. So how does that fit into the equation? We know that we've got apparatus to replace. We know that we're going to have small vehicles to replace. We know that we got to go back and look. If you look at the apparatus replacement schedule, it's now a few years old, and it probably needs to be looked at again. So we've had all these overlapping discussions that don't have continuity. So what I'm proposing is that we form a long-range planning committee. Have that as one of our standing committees. And I want the long-range planning committee to consist of a chair, 2 commissioners, 2 finance people, being Sean and Bob, and then 2 command level fire people. I gave it to the chiefs and said, this is something I'd love to see you do, but I know how busy our chiefs are. I don't want to twist their arm and say they got to do it. They want to pass it on to another chief or even a captain. I consider that command level, the way we operate. They could. So William got back to me in an email yesterday and said that he wanted to do it himself. Adam, are you prepared to say whether you want to do it or you want to pass it on to somebody? What do you want to do?
I'd rather do it myself, honestly, so we don't end up with a conflict of interest problem.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said in the email, and I hope it was clear, if that means you got to pass some other duty on to somebody else, we're good with that, because I really wanted to see the chiefs on it, but again, I didn't want to twist your arm to do it, even though I did a little, I guess.
Primarily apparatus.
No, and here, I want to keep them in focus, because we're looking at finance. I want them to look at apparatus. I want them to look at buildings. What we're doing with the buildings, because at some point, if they're looking out 10, 15, 20 years, they got to look at what's going to be needed in 10, 15, 20 years here, as well as what's going to be needed in 10, 15, 20 there. I want them to look at buildings. I want them to look at apparatus. I want them to look at finance, growth, anticipated growth. I want them looking for factual information, and that we can base. That they come back with recommendations, but I want their recommendations to be broad brush recommendations, so that we can then have a building committee or an apparatus committee or a whatever committee drill down on. But we know that we've got things like SCBA that are gonna have to be replaced on a regular basis. We know what the schedule is. We know they gotta have gear that's gotta be replaced on a regular basis. We know and we've demonstrated that we can get more by properly taking care of the apparatus and the Chiefs cars, we can get more life out of them than what may have been anticipated when we did that replacement schedule 5 years ago. So we're looking at that. We're looking at daytime staffing. You know, you keep hearing people talk about, oh yeah, 5 years, we're gonna have to be hiring people. Where does that fit in the budget? You know, so looking at these things like finance,
Gotcha.
that whole package. But I don't want to see this committee wandering off and looking at, you know, drilling down on things that they shouldn't be. Look at broad scope at those kinds of areas. So the 7 people then that I would recommend for it would be as commissioners, Nick and Brian, as the two command officers would be Adam and William, 2 finance people, Sean and Bob, and I was, you know, we're going to chair this. Well, we got a guy that we appoint every year as our special needs person. And this is right up Mark Lansavita's alley. This is right up his alley. I talked to Mark, he said he would chair it. He's got a lot of this stuff, or he's got access to a lot of this stuff. His involvement with the planning board. So, you know, when it comes to growth and the numbers and projections, he's got access to the Capital District Planning Commission, where they've done some of those projections for municipalities. And he said, North Range rarely uses that information. This would be a great opportunity for North Range to grab some of that information. So I'm going to make a resolution that we appoint those 7 people to a long-range planning committee with those specific assignments to carry out. Anybody second it, or Dan seconds it? Any discussion? I've discussed it with Nick and Brian already, so I didn't expect there to be much discussion there. Roll call vote, please.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's it on apparatus. And Dean,
Sorry, question for, on apparatus.
yeah,
Might be for Chief Littlefield also, but, you know, we had 426 go out, you know, in preparation for the sale. Vanderbilt got a hold of it, $12,000 in repairs. Truck 42 went out for a seal, comes back 40,000 plus in repairs. Has Rescue 42 been looked at? Assessed, so to speak. It may already have, may not have, but if it has, maybe something to think about.
correct me if I'm wrong, Bob. Rescue 42 has not been serviced by Vanderbilt. That is last serviced by,
No, it was, they have not done like a preventive maintenance assessment on it. They did do the pump test recently. They did the pump test and actually the pump test came back very, very well.
Yeah, I just don't know
But-
what condition it's in, if it's
Right.
working well, you know, Ronnie, you may have an idea, or, you know, I'm just concerned, you know, truck goes out, we'll find all these problems, 2 of the 3. Maybe see some of the 3rd one, we can look at now, but it may be scheduled, may not, maybe overstep and ask them, but just something to think about.
let's keep an eye on, do you have any idea when they're going to start the annuals?
No, I mean, that's up to the 2 chiefs. They keep it in their 12-month cycle. And I know that Chief Littlefield, you know, they're working on Rescue 42 now, meaning Vandermolen is doing work on it. So I'm sure that could be a question and maybe an off-bar discussion with Chief Littlefield. If he feels that he needs to get that into Vandermolen and take a little closer look at it, it's not a bad idea.
Adam, I missed a note here that I had a sidebar note to you. Can you give me a call sometime tomorrow? I don't know what time you leave for work, but shoot me a shout sometime during the day. I got another matter I got to discuss with you. Nothing urgent, nothing pressing.
Okay, just regarding Rescue 42.
Yep.
So basically the process I've been doing since January 11th is someone identifies a fault on the truck. I'm contacting Vandermolen for the big trucks. I'm then following up on an email that goes to Mr. Durivage along with Vandermolen. I believe the gentleman's name is Mike as the coordinator there. That way there, Mr. Durivage sees I made a phone call. There's going to be a work order in place. And then on the back end, when it actually is fixed and Mr. Durivage gets the bill, he already knew that was coming. So that I can just give it the blessing, and then, everything is hunky dory in that aspect.
Awesome. Thanks.
Rich, if I could just quickly add to that, and Adam, thank you, because that is very helpful. The board may not realize Sean understands this, but there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth to the chiefs or whoever the assistant chief is in charge of apparatus when we get these invoices. So any pre-advance notice that something's happening is a big help. And with Vandermolen, just wanted to also point out that while I know Rich had said that the small trucks are not going to be going there, we still have an agreement with them that we can, because there are components on some of these trucks that you're not going to be able to take to, Farah's or Heinz or some of these local shops. Right. So, just keep that in mind. They can be worked on at Vandermolen.
I don't want to think what it looks like. Chief Galligan left. It's more for the freestyle. She's like, if you want to reach out to Chief Burkhart, but we've been having issues getting the gas fuel logs from DeFreeseville. 5-6 months, it's been submitted back to Bob. I know he's asked for him a couple of times. So if you want apparatus, but we need to get the fuel logs from DeFreeseville to Bob so we can reconcile. Okay. So like 5-6 months behind, but
Did Brandon leave or is he installed?
So William is about 15 feet from me, so I can mention it to him.
Just have my relaying that, please.
Yep, I'll take care of it, sir.
Sorry, that's fascinating.
I'm just making a note of things that I gotta follow up on. Sorry. All right, anything else under apparatus that I didn't cover that anybody else has got? Moving on to buildings and grounds. Ryan?
A lot. There's been some, stuff going on. Lionsville side, the air compressor service should be complete. Was completed, I believe. All's good there. Extinguishers being serviced, or in the process of being serviced. On the DeFreeseville side, the heat in the radio room was fixed, which is good. Long story short, there was like some loose breaker stuff. I'm not a big electrical person, but UPS assistant chief's office rebuild. Talked to Bob. We have some ceiling tiles, stuff going on. So we ordered 2 boxes of ceiling tiles. Bob went ahead and got them. So they're a little more expensive than normal ceiling tiles. They're special tile, acoustic, and all that sort of stuff. But so we should have some ceiling tiles getting replaced. Say one of the 2 boilers was locked out. Bob went ahead and put in a service call, got that fixed up. So that was taken care of. We did get an email from the DeFreeseville chief with some recommendations for energy efficiency, saying some of this stuff is already being looked at by Bob. They were going through the building. Bob did send an email out to get a quote on some work from Kerry Electric to look at some energy efficiency savings possibly over here, which was a good thing. One thing is just to clarify, just to clear up any misnomers. The email is characterized as the district was complaining about electric price, the price and all this stuff. It's not a complaint, it's a concern. Just making everybody aware that money's going to be a little bit tighter with these everybody's seeing their home bills. It's nothing. The energy use may be the same, these delivery fees and everything. I think it was 40-60% increase in the national grid bills, NICEAG bills. So we're not complaining. It's just we got to be conscientious. You're alluding to the Lionsville station, obviously priority needs work, apparatus, all this stuff. So we got to start really kind of looking at some stuff. But so we're waiting for an estimate back from Kerry Electric on some different work. We talked about, do we need every parking lot light to be lit out there? Can you go to a timer? I mean, you see
reasonable stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so we're waiting for a quote back on that. Well, let's say it covers the snow plowing and stuff. I know over here there was comments and complaints about the ice and stuff like that. I just do want to mention that on January 13th, we have an email here. Bob did send email to the chiefs and the presidents, basically giving them contact numbers for Keith Hankel of the town, and they are authorized to call the town as much as you have to do what you got to get done. We looked at private contracting. You looked at $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 for a contract. The town charges, it's very minimal what they charge. It's like a couple $100. I think we owe them so far. So, you know, just, I would just ask, you know, the chiefs, presidents, if they were here, you know, reach out, if you got the contact information, you don't have to wait, don't have to go to Bob, maybe, I don't know, enjoy some siesta somewhere or whatever, but, they do have the contact information for, and also if you're on the call, you got the radios, the town radios, just call for it, but just want to reinforce that the presidents and chiefs to use the phone numbers we gave them.
I was concerned about the amount of ice on the sidewalk, and having tried to chip my own driveway, I realized that we were talking about, at least, you know, we were talking about 2.5, 3 inches of ice, a thin layer of snow that had frozen and almost crystallized, and then more ice. And the town's not gonna touch the sidewalks. And, you know, you can't ask guys to go out and just shovel that up, because it ain't gonna shovel. Right. And I knew we were gonna go through a lot of salt or calcium, and I sent an email to both chiefs. I did include Steve. I didn't have, that's another one. I didn't have Adam's email address, Adam Lackey's, but I did send it to Joe and said, hey, if we need to get some special supplies or some people to, you know, hire somebody to take care of walks, you know, it's that bad. And I got a reply from Adam and John Carroll like the next day. They said, no, we're on top of it over here. We got it. We might need a little bit more salt, but we'll let you know if we do it. Or a little more material. And then to their credit, Bill Stewart and Mike Lashman came over here and just started chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping. They got a little bit better weather and they went out and chipped a little more. And over the course of a few days, they got it up. I was over in Winesville for the zoning board meeting the other day, and I swung by their station before that. And guys over here busted their ass and got it done too. So I commend everybody on the job that they did in getting this. That was a tough storm. That was a tough storm to clean up. Everybody did a good job.
I just wanted to make sure, you know, it works. I know the park lot affected, used a couple more hits over here, for example. I mean, you know, I apologize, you know, I'm not sure how your guys' park lot was, but this was a mess. And, you know, the town, all of them will come back out, but they're also busy. You know.
Yeah, when I saw,
You gotta tell them there's.
when I saw Mike Minor at the zoning board meeting on Wednesday, I said, look, on Thursday and Friday, we're gonna need some warm weather. So either late Thursday afternoon or sometime Friday, can you have, I can't even think of his name, Keith swing through the plow? And sure enough, it was done. So I don't know if somebody here made a phone call in addition, or it was my message through Mike, but it got done. So it all worked out. So, anything else under building and grounds? I got one thing I'd like us to look at. I don't want to run out and order it or buy it, but when we were over at Winesville looking at the surplus equipment, we saw literally 1,000 or more than 1,000 feet of hose on the floor with no rack to store it in. Now that the hose is off 426, we used, for anybody that's not aware, we took 426 over to Brunswick and laid a line for them to, of the surplus hose that was on 426, laid a line from one hydrant to another by Stewart's and by Tamarack High School so that they could bypass a section of water main that was bad. The county health department pumped some chemicals into the hose so that they would sterilize it, clean it, whatever. And then they bypassed the hose for a day and a half while they made a repair of the main. The hose came back to us on the fire truck, it all rolled up the way we wanted it. So we got the hose off the truck, got it rolled, but now there's 1,800 plus feet of 5-inch sitting on the floor over here. So Bob, can you just get us a price on what a couple more racks would cost so we can make sure? We got to figure out how much of that we're going to surplus and when we're going to surplus it, and then got to figure out how much we're going to have left. But I don't see us buying 5-inch hose for quite a while because I mean there's still a few lengths of the new stuff laying around that isn't on trucks, and we got way over what we need in old stuff. So I think we probably went overboard with the purchase that was made in buying the new LDH here last year. We had a better assessment of the numbers on that before we ordered. But if you can get just a couple of prices on racks,
Yep.
so we at least know about what they're going to be. District personnel, Dan and Brian.
Nope, the staff salaries that Marlo's went out.
Yep, they were very happy. Bonnie sent an appreciative note.
Yeah, I
You guys seem
I
happy?
didn't see that. Nope, nothing.
The only thing I have under district personnel, and it applies to district personnel within people that are technically by law, district employees, but for chiefs, it also applies to the people under you in both fire companies. We need to know the status of everybody with regard to their, the district policies and the signed employee letters and all that stuff. And of particular diligence right now, where we got openings for the district employees, we've got a number of people that are considered district employees that we don't have their sexual harassment and workplace violence training on file. And looking at some of them, I know that some of them likely get that through work. So it's just a matter of whatever certificate you get at work, bring it here, we'll put it on file, and you met the obligation of the law. It's also available, I know Bonnie took it by just
AFD.
Association of Fire Districts. They periodically.
And I'm sure a lot of the organizations have it.
So we can get it any
BFIS.
number of places, and I know it's a pain in the butt, but everyone's got to do it. So let's get that done. So we have to make sure people know we're aware of that one. Anything else under district personnel?
We got about the two new,
Pardon?
the two new members.
Oh, thank you.
We're supposed to vote them in.
Yes, where the application point, we didn't remember something, right? They're on that folder. Thank you. The Friesel's got applications before us for two new members, Robert Shackleton, Senior, and Nicholas Clemenzi. So we've got a chance, everybody's had a chance to look at them. We've seen them in their in the Dropbox. Got a chance to look over all their information, their resumes, etc. They both got clean records from the their arson report, and everything's all ready for us. Is there a resolution to approve them? I'll make it. Made by Brian, seconded by Nick. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Brian.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Aye. Dan.
Aye.
All right, they're both approved. Thank you, Brian, for reminding me. 2/14/22. I'll get that one. Sign that in a second. All right, move on here. Audit insurance, long range planning, and audit. Take care.
Sean, you've got the audit.
Well, the audit's being worked on. They were here.
Yeah, I don't have-
Yeah, they were here last week.
I don't have it.
We should have a report soon.
And to be clear, Dan, the stuff that we looking to you to do for long range planning with regard to the finances, we're still going to need that. The long range planning committee is going to need that.
I was actually gonna suggest Brian and Nick, because I think we should have one from each department, and Brian being a recent chief, he is much more appropriate for
All
that.
right,
So
I don't even think I'm slighting you there.
I am 100% in full
Okay.
support of.
But there, we're still going to need that the component of finance to look at everything.
But I don't feel that way at all.
Okay, good.
So,
Thank you. Nothing else in long range planning?
I do have a couple.
Yes, go ahead.
Right now, it looks like potentially we're going to have about $40,000 left over from last year's unexpended balance.
40?
About 40. So just keep that in mind, determine whether you want to put it in capital reserve building or put it. So that's one thing. The other thing is talking with the auditors, I think we have to tighten up maybe our internal controls a little tighter based upon some of the state controllers reviews that have been done. Is that maybe, well, there's two ways we can go about it. We could just do like an annual, or excuse me, a quarterly audit where maybe Dan and Nick, I can send them a check register for the last 3 months, and they say, all right, we might pull, Sean pulled these 15 items with the bills and the canceled checks and all of that. So that's one step we can implement. And the other one was really when we get the bank statement, it takes us, we usually don't get the bank statement until after the monthly meeting, but on the bank statement that we get in the mail, it has all the checks that are canceled. So somebody should go through the check register and match them up to the canceled checks on the bank statement. Okay.
And that should be somebody different on a regular, it should be the same person every time.
Well, I think it'd be okay if those two rotated through because they're kind of like on the internal control policy because they're on the finance, insurance, and audit. So, but I was going to come up with some policies or steps or procedures for that moving forward based upon the recommendation from the auditors.
Well, I had something I wanted to bring up under policy procedures and membership that kind of falls into that same stuff. I'll wait to get to that.
Okay,
We'll come to
I
that.
just wanted to throw it out there.
Anything else you got?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Nothing else under finance, insurance, et cetera? All right, policy and procedures, membership. First thing there is the data park terminal policy. Bob sent it out to us. You sent that to everybody, right?
I did.
I went to everybody.
Yep.
So we've had a couple of weeks to look it over. I looked it over then and I looked it over again today, so it was a little fresher in my mind. I didn't see anything wrong with it. This is the policy. Basically, it takes the department computer policy and extends it out to the iPads that we're going to put in the apparatus in the police cars. So anybody have any issues with it? Problems with it? I know that the chiefs have had a chance to look at it. Yes, no?
No,
No?
they did not because I wasn't instructed
Oh,
to
okay.
send it out to them.
All
But
right.
they provided the template.
Right, they give you, all right.
They provided me some details on the iPad.
Right.
I just took it the step further because we really don't have a data terminal policy.
So we're not, the policy doesn't dictate, so everybody's aware, policy doesn't dictate how those terminals are going to be used in the field. It talks a little bit about how they're going to be protected, talks about how often they got to be inspected and maintained, talks about what software can be put on them and who can authorize it, and the chiefs can authorize it. But it gives them a lot of latitude as to how they're going to use them operationally. We're not trying to control that. We just want to make sure that they're not being used. They're out there, downloading data, and when people are out there on a call planning their vacation on the iPad, it's not supposed to be used for that kind of thing. So, or worse than vacation. So, do we need to approve that tonight? I would think so. Can we consider a motion to approve that data terminal policy? Brian, need a second on it? Second by Nick. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposition?
Rich, just to back up the RFP for the audit,
Yeah.
we need to actually vote on that, right?
Well, I just wanted Terry to double check the dates, and I was gonna double check the dates.
That's a very complicated document. We got it like an hour.
We were just
before the-
talking about, that's why.
Okay, we got it about an hour before the meeting, and I want a chance to read through it again. So I think if we're prepared next month to vote on it, it's still plenty of time to come back.
Yeah, got it.
We talked about that, I thought earlier. Updated district policy review chart. Did we do anything with that this month?
Well, you just talked about it. You went over it. It was the district staff
Oh, okay.
but on that note, the district chiefs need to ensure that each of their station, their members have the
Right.
same thing.
And I'm looking at the one for just the district, the district employees.
Right.
And I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 delinquent marks.
Yeah,
And some of them are people that I know because of what they do for a living, they've had that training. And it's just a matter of getting that application, or getting that a copy of that certification back. All right. OSAP. Nick, Brian?
I met with the chief Wednesday and Jimmy Oliver on Friday. I have all their paperwork. Actually gotta give it to Sean. I just gotta meet with the preschool, get their half and move forward with that.
Any questions for anything yet?
No, I think the preschool, our week or so they should be ready. I know they're still working on some stuff.
I figured, yeah. Just need to get it in just a note so everybody knows that, Michelle dug me no way for the month of March, so just trying to get it in a little earlier this year for her, so the way it ain't sitting there on her desk when she's away.
Special committees. Business operations and technology, Dan and Nick.
We've talked a lot about iPads. We're good.
Well,
We got like
And we have, actually, Bob sent the estimate for potential upgrades to this system. It's about $20,000 estimate. That's like the wish list. And there's a small subgroup, so I think basically the subgroup should get together review the recommendations, and then next month we can take
That,
action.
I saw that estimate and my heart just about stopped and it was like, what part of no don't they understand?
So I don't think we need to really get into all the nitty gritty now, but
Yeah.
that group can revisit that, and then we'll revisit next.
Figure out what parts we actually need to use versus what's
Bob, anything you want to add to that?
what's abstract. Then the next thing on that list is the NIFRS and records management software. You want to report out on that, Bob, or do you actually, what do you guys want to report on?
I was not on all of the review, but the Alpine company is the recommendation. I just know from discussions with Bob, all the emails back and forth, I think we really did our due diligence. So I think that's who we should go with, but Bob is the most well-versed in this, so
Well, there's been other people that have kind of queued in a little bit on it, and I think the board sees by the examples of the samples that they can do for the district. I mean, that's all in part of the price of the setup to get us where we need to be with our LoSAP system. And you would think that there's a lot of other companies out there first with the LoSAP reporting, and they're not. They're just not. They'll say, oh, we think we know what it is, but they don't. This company's in New York State. They service New York State fire departments and districts, and in New Jersey, and we have the same exact kind of programs. They get it. And to me, if we don't go this direction, the board would be making a big mistake. We need to get the LoSAP down. All the, the NIFRs, of course, for reporting, and then the other stuff is just a little bit of frosting on the top with like the apparatus checks and stuff like that. And that's good to have, and it's not that expensive to get it right now. But I trust that this company knows what they're doing. Rich, you've done some homework on it.
I spoke to representatives from fire departments from Town County, Town of Bethlehem, and Town of Gilliland. Multiple Town County, two from the Town of Bethlehem, multiple from Town County, including two different people, one firematic, one administrative from one of the fire departments. And while I found some people that said, well, it doesn't do it the way our old software did, but we're learning how to use it. I also heard a lot of, wow, it's really powerful now that we learn how to use it. And I think the big advantage for everybody is that right now we enter on both sides of town, we enter fire reports into it, and then we add an attendance sheet that goes with that fire report. Well, it's going to get to the point that that will be able to be done if we choose by the officer on the call, and everybody can enter their own attendance that they were there. And it can be policed, it can be kept from, nobody's going to be able to sneak into the firehouse 3 hours after the call and add themselves in. There's ways of controlling that. And it's going to save a lot of time. But then what that does is that frees up folks like Jimmy Oliver and Bonnie that are doing data entry. Now, when somebody turns in a slip that they went to a training class, or there was a work party, or there was a company meeting, those get entered the same way. And then the computer does all the calculations and gives you a list of LoSAP to approve and verify. You verify and then approve. So it's going to cut out a lot of that manual entry stuff, and we lost the slip for this, or nobody entered that. It should eliminate a lot of that. That was the part that a lot of the fire departments spoke very, very highly of. But and most of the fire departments I talk to now, instead of filling out a paper fire report at the firehouse and then putting it in a box for somebody else to type in with all the same information, they're just entering. The company officer just enters the report, or whoever ran the call enters the report. Everybody else just checks their box that they were there, and then somebody else just verifies all there. So it really cuts down a lot of the labor-intensive things. So I think it's a good system, and I think we'll really benefit from it. We had prices in the. I'm gonna get back to that page. The computer locked that down. Find out. We got a price for that system of, advantage for us. Yeah, we're around 12 grand.
This company charges you for the modules up front.
Yeah.
And their annual maintenance and cloud service is pretty reasonable at like 2,300, where a lot of the other companies, their recurring amounts are anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000, and that's pretty much across the board. So they charge you for their technology, and then they don't ding you very hard annually for their maintenance and their
Yeah, a lot of the
upgrades.
other programs, a lot of the other companies, you basically lease the software from them, and you just pay every year. This, you're buying it up front, and then if you need something, you pay for it, and then you pay for the cloud space. That's another big advantage, is it's cloud, so we're not gonna have that data pipe between mine and Skill here for data to be entered there, trying to get it into a server here. It's all going to the cloud. So it's just, what we need is good internet. We don't need that good internet between the two, which has been a spectrum headache that these guys have been fighting for 2 years now. So that's an advantage. So what was that final price that we needed?
Yes.
Here it is on page whatever, page 3 of 30. Consider a resolution then to authorize the expenditure of $12,755 from where? Where is that? Where did you calculate it coming from? Or did we?
It would just come from the computer services line.
And we'll deal with that. $12,755 to move ahead with the modules that are identified, the installation customization, the system training. We're paying $1,200 for training, and $800 worth of data conversion. Which is pretty reasonable, really. Consider a resolution to do that. By Nick. Dan, you just gonna second it? Seconded by Dan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Dan.
Aye.
Nick.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Brian.
Aye.
Okay. Plan development.
We gotta buy an iPad screen protector. or not?
Oh, we gotta buy iPads, thank you, Nick. iPad screen protectors, that's just routine.
Yeah, right.
He's just letting us know what they cost.
Right.
Just make sure.
Yeah, I mean, $60 to do it.
Yep.
Development plan review, Brian, anything, Nick, anything?
Brian has plans besides that. I don't know.
Well, there are still cheaper prices, waiting for some feedback, but basically we received plans for adding and building a stone gate, our apartment building, so to speak, building 5. And the old, affectionately known as DFD comp field, Partridge Hill's looking to put 3 more apartment buildings on that property. So our net Quackenbury is moving forward, I guess. We never had a meeting with the developer that was ordered by the planning board. However, I spoke to Bill Miller, who's got probably about 30 code consideration concerns, and was going to get invited. Get an invite for Nick and I to join him in a meeting with the developer. That's those.
Yeah, I've expressed my concern to Bill that while he's doing a great job at some of that stuff, and he knows those codes, and he's a former firefighter, I get all that, but you guys gotta be engaged in that too.
Oh, the code requires the fire
So
chief or representative to be engaged, that kind of stuff.
I had him as a captive audience in my vehicle for a couple hours.
So we've heard nothing about any meeting time. Once I hear from Bill, I'll let you know where it is. So
He should be back in town. He should be back in town now, so I'll try and mention that now. So, nowhere. All right. 9 items to follow on. Anything else? Fireman operations. I don't have anything. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, I do. And actually, it's firematic and station operations. We still have a policy that says, a temporary policy that says that you're either vaccinated or masked being fire in one of the fire hours. And that was based on the state policy that's out there. That policy has since been rescinded. And we don't need to do that anymore. Do we want to change our policy?
Did we ever actually adopt it, though? Weren't we just saying we were following?
No,
state guidance?
we passed a motion that we were following the state's policy. And we said that as a result, people in the two district firehouses either had to be vaccinated or masked.
Right, I guess I don't recall actually voting on it. I thought we were just like enforcing what the state guidance came. I don't think we ever made it informal.
Do you remember, Bob? If there was a vote, take the notes.
I think, well, you enacted a policy. You actually
Did
did.
we enact a policy or did we just say this is the state guidance?
No,
we did.
no, they enacted it, you enacted a policy that kind of stayed along with this. So, yeah, no, it was an actual policy.
So we want to consider a motion at this point to just relax it to whatever the state regulations are, and if the regulations get tightened up again, we revisit it.
Why don't we just make it where we follow the state regulations? And then it's like it just changes this.
And that doesn't preclude anybody from that chooses to wear a mask to wear a mask again. And it certainly doesn't get us in the middle of people having to be vaccinated versus wanting to be vaccinated versus not wanting to be vaccinated. So do you want to make that motion?
I think you still have to go one step further, because if this is a place of employment, you could, you know, where you can impose rules for a place of employment. So I think you need to be, you know, this isn't Stewart's where you can walk in without a mask today. You have to, I think, affirmatively state, you know.
We have to state what our employment, our policy.
Yeah. You can't just follow, because it's different for commercial setting. I mean, schools, you know. So, yeah, you're not a healthcare facility, but you are a healthcare provider in occasion, so.
And we had the occurrence while we were at the policy that said you either had to be masked or vaccinated. The Winnetka Fire Company said that they wanted everybody masked in their building. And we let them do that, and we didn't fight it necessarily. You know, I mean, if they want to take it a step beyond, that was fine with me. And as a matter of fact, I happened to be teaching a class over there when Winnetka made that decision. I informed the class by email that, hey, guess what, we're wearing masks for the last couple of weeks. And it was not.
I guess that's why I remember
It wasn't a
we
problem.
sent something out similar, and I think Eric Denny had, so I just thought the companies kind of did it. I must have amnesia, maybe.
No, we discussed it, because Dave and I met with the presidents and the chiefs, mostly by email and by
Zoom.
I think we did Zoom one Saturday morning. We did a Zoom meeting with them. And that's how we kind of controlled it. When the regulations were doing the roller coaster thing, that's how we kind of controlled it. So I guess when we do need to make a law and policy that lists the requirement for masks and lists the requirement that people in the building either be vaccinated or masked. And I'll make that motion.
Thinking of the wording, sorry. Because what is something, I mean, hypothetically,
Okay.
Something happens February 29th, things take a turn, state change. I mean, you guys some kind of, it's something to follow, I guess.
That's what we did the last time when it changed mid-month. We did a Saturday meeting and a committee.
Right, a committee did a meeting that made the policy.
Then I'll amend it that we lift the requirement for masks and or vaccines, with the exception that if the state policy changes in between our meetings, that we convene two commissioners, two chiefs, two presidents, committee meeting to determine something interim until the next Board of Fire Commissioner meeting.
They also going to defer to the companies. They want to have something.
Do we need to have that in there?
Well, remember you told me, you just said that you did.
We did, but we didn't take an action. They took an action. We let that action go.
They went above and beyond.
They went
Yeah,
above-
that's what I mean. You.
Yeah, fire, I think we could say right in it that the fire companies, if either fire company chooses to go beyond that, we would support that.
And that would be in the state policy. State policy allows the local municipalities to be more restrictive. You know, like you go to Cross Gates, yes, you don't have to wear the mask. Try to go in the Apple store without a mask today, you won't get it.
Really?
If you don't get shot walking to the.
Or if you don't get shot.
Yeah.
But no, but it's still up to like, well, there's some businesses, they don't care what the state says. They can be more restricted. This can't be less restricted.
And so can employers, is the only issue being the vaccine.
I think-
Even Hannaford, they're all masked all.
I think we're gonna have to be incredibly flexible with this, probably for the next year or so, because this is gonna be all over the board. I mean, you can't log on to Facebook, you can't turn on the news, you can't, it's all, this mask stuff is all over. You know, all the posts that are out there about who was wearing masks, who wasn't wearing masks at the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just, it's mind boggling. So. Made the motion, what are we doing? I think Bob got it down, right?
No.
No, you were writing, I thought you got it down.
Oh, well, I have something down,
All right,
but meaning what I can do is take the existing policy based on whatever you approve, and I'll sketch it up, I'll send it to you, just this, because then you're gonna want us to disseminate that, correct?
Right.
So I'll do that.
and I think that's what David and I did before.
Yeah.
I'll work with Nick if that's what we're gonna do, so that we get that, more than one person, more than one set of eyes on it. But that way we don't have to reconvene another board meeting between now and then.
Yep.
Sound good?
The only other thing you need to be mindful of is, my sources tell me we could be looking at a fourth booster or a fourth shot. Just say, in case you wanted to know.
Shoot your sources.
But by the state of New York, you know it's good, you know it's good stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Dan, if he gets a shot, we're not sitting next to him.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition?
Who seconded the motion?
Yeah, who seconded it, Rich?
Oh, I don't know.
Nick did, right?
Nick did.
I put NS down. You said
Okay.
you did it together, so.
I didn't know where to put this in there, but before we get to public session, Terry, can you give us, we're not gonna take any action on it tonight. Can you give us the Reader's Digest on that thing you sent us
Yeah.
about websites and?
Sure, the states have been a wisdom in the interest of making all things known to all people, that they've amended the open meetings law so that municipal entities, governmental entities, public bodies have to publish their agendas and at least 24 hours before their meeting dates, if they have a high-speed internet website. And I'm assuming a website, not just a service too. And that the minutes must be, the draft minutes must be published within 2 weeks. Those were always kind of rules that were out there, but it was in the discretion of, or at the, to the extent practical by the public body. Now it's more, you have to do it within a day unless there's some reason why you can't.
Within a day?
Well, the day, 24 hours of the, 24 hours
in
of the meeting, and then minutes 2 weeks after, okay? So draft, they don't do draft minutes. Presents a couple of problems. With respect to you guys, your agendas are pretty intense, pretty extensive. If you're gonna, and this again, it's kind of a work in progress, and the law's in effect, but you've got to kind of adapt what you do now. I think, my suggestion would be, Mr. Durivage and I could talk and kind of maybe work with Sean and figure out what a reasonable meeting of this statute would be in terms of getting an agenda. I mean, you follow a fairly standard template, but maybe that can be refined. And with respect to minutes, to make them available 2 weeks afterwards is going to be, it's going to require additional work. It's going to require redaction, reducing what's in your minutes to basically the statutory requirements of motions, resolutions, and other things for which deliberation was made, as opposed to there was a discussion about this and a discussion about that, and so on and so forth in the audience. I mean, I think there's going to have to be a refinement and kind of a tightening and streamlining of the minutes as they're produced. I think they're going to have to be almost just parroting with the minimum the law requires. So,
But that's going to hurt us. There's so many times we go back in our old minutes to find things that, and we've got an incredible amount of detail that often helps us. I don't want to keep that up.
Well, it's, you know, that you have to have draft minutes available, your final minutes, you know, you've got another, ostensibly another 2 weeks to refine them, you know,
That makes sense.
before you finalize it.
So you could do an outline. You could do an outline minutes based on the agenda and just add a couple words and then do the full blown out minutes for the final. But that requires somebody to do that and somebody to post it on the website.
But then your full-blown minutes have to be redacted because you have things in your minutes that you wouldn't produce if somebody made a FOIL request for it.
That's true too.
Okay, so, or the alternative is get rid of your website.
We don't have a website.
They don't.
It's North Gettysburg Fire Department.
One of the, you know, and I went on their website to see, I'll go on the website to see what we're doing now. I did that earlier today, and that's what the message that I got to the.
Yeah.
That's what that's about. And it still shows Dan's chair. It still shows, yeah, and so, and I know you're busy doing a whole million other things. And I talked to Bob, it's like, I don't want to pay somebody else to take care of the website. You know, is it something Bonnie could do? I don't know. I don't think it's something J.O. would want to tackle. But he might, I don't know. You know,
Really, Rich, what we really need to do, I'm not in favor of spending a lot of money. We really need to get like Dave Young to recompose our website and make it more user-friendly, because it's a challenge to change who's the chairman and so forth like that. It's not very user-friendly application that we have, but it gets the job done, so when
you know, you know, I like tinkering with computers, and I could probably do it, but I'm liable to do something there that's going to offend somebody anyway. So I'm probably the last choice.
Right. But as Terry was saying, I was amazed when Janice became the town clerk, how little. I mean, the meeting might go for 3 hours. She only has a page with the resolutions attached. That's it. Like, they don't have like.
She's a better clerk than her husband is secretary.
We record everything.
It's helped this time, you know, when and I'll give you an example. When we lost the, was it the radiator, recently?
Right,
Yeah. And it was like, oh, we're gonna go back and find out what we did with that. We had better records on that. We knew right to what day it happened, who did the work, when it got done, when it got paid for. We knew more about it than Garrison did. And they're the ones who got paid for it, you know, so we had the records, and I don't want to lose that tool.
But wasn't that because of QuickBooks?
That wasn't quick.
Yeah, so,
That's why I was
okay,
able to
but
run
this
it
is a
grab.
question for Terry then. Because it's not, this isn't, I don't want to speak out of line because Sean does a little bit, you know, with the website as far as putting the stuff on there. It's not so much just somebody uploading that document to the website. It's getting all the documents ready and coordinating the timing, and you really, I mean, that's kind of what you pay us to do, but you know, timing is everything.
But now you're putting it under some tight time constraints.
Correct. So what if you just scale back the minutes to keep it to the motions, the resolutions, and then, you know, and again, more of a legal question, like we have these sort of committee notes that
Supplemental notes or something?
that kind of fill in, you know, and we can even be maybe even a little bit more liberal with them, okay, but still add everything you're looking for.
But as a document, they would be foiled. We'd still be able to redact.
That's okay, but they're not the minutes. And that's what I'm like, that's what I'm saying. They're still there for your viewing. Somebody would have to specifically ask for them. Okay, they're not minutes. It's just committee notes that help the committees.
That makes sense.
The only thing that's required to be in your minutes is a record or summary of all the motions, proposals, resolutions, and any other matter formally voted upon.
Right.
And voted thereon.
That's,
Half a page of paper.
well, you know, you do quite a
But
few,
it's-
but
those things are pretty much stock every month.
right.
Right.
And we can tell people on the website that you will see a resolution for this, this, and this, because they are regular resolutions.
Okay.
But you're not gonna put the documents for someone's
Why don't we-
membership application.
Why don't we leave it that you two put your heads together,
Work
get with Terry,
right.
see if we can come up with some kind of proposal, recommendation for how we're we're handling it going forward.
I mean, I think you guys understand that there's a lot of effort put into these minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay, and they do serve a basis, but now this redacting is really the key thing. It's not so much the minutes, it's gonna be redacting this. I mean, has anybody ever redacted documents? Okay, it takes a lot of time. And then if you make a mistake,
Come back where we're.
Okay.
See what we can do. Anything else to bring up before we open public session? Nothing. All right, reopen public session. Anybody wishing to speak? Wow, lots of hands.
I just got one thing at first, on where Panera Bread is down here on Route 4,
What?
Panera.
Panera, yeah.
We had a call in there for a fire alarm. I drove the truck company over there. It was really hard getting into the front of that building. And the way they had their parking, they had pickup trucks in the front. And we had to do some finagling to get the truck company in the front of the building because I think there was an engine in the back of the building. But to use that truck where that whole complex is, it was poor planning on the town or whoever let them put all the parking spots in there without adequate in and out egresses on one way in and no way out, because Panera Bread's got that drive-through. And then to get out of there, it was a mess. But when we were in the building, they have smoke detectors only in the rear of the building with no horn strobes or nothing in that nail, I think it was a nail salon, no horn strobes in there, and there's no horn strobes on the outside of that building, but they have sprinklers. Now, whoever is the expert with fire alarms and sprinklers, I mean, either the town or I don't know, Brian, if you know some of that stuff. but
Yeah, I was on nights, I was in the backside, I called.
When I was doing fire alarm and that for work, I never ran into that situation because a building of that square footage always had some kind of a smoke head in the business area, plus horn strobes. And then if they had sprinklers, there was always visual on the outside of the building. So that whole complex there has got nothing except for smoke detectors in the rear of the building. And even the electrical room, they had no smokes. So,
Brian, can you take a look at what we have on that? Maybe get with Bill and figure
Well,
out.
actually, I was gonna say, I was on the backside, Chief Wilson called for a code enforcement to come out, Bill Miller was out of town. Mike Minor showed up,
right,
I pointed out, because I was up in Suite 201, there was no notification device, so to the physical therapy area, everybody's just standing there, no notification device, electric closet, storage, fire extinguisher. I noticed like at least 5, 6, 7 different code violations. I pointed out to Mr. Minor, I was told, well, you got to talk to Bill because he doesn't know anything about fire code. So I mentioned to Bill Miller,
Right.
he was going to go back and do a walk, but I could call CPW.
yeah, because and just the way, I mean, that particular day, just the way it was to set that truck, we didn't have to set it up, but the room there was really, really tight in space. And why they don't have an exit or an entrance on Route 4 besides that one spot, because they have everything filtering in that one driveway. And by chance, if there was cars coming out of that drive-through with Panera, and we had to do some maneuvering with that truck company, it's a pretty large piece of piece.
I was down there at a previous fire alarm activation. I don't remember which rig I was driving. I don't even remember if the new 7s were in yet at that time. And I had a hard time getting out. I got blocked in the back
Right.
because cars came in after I pulled in, and it was just a mess back there.
And I mean, just for our own personal awareness, if something like that happens again, maybe the chief officers can, when they get there, have an idea what's going on. Maybe an engine goes in the front of the building, the truck goes in the back of the building. I mean, that's only me talking. I said-
Thank you for bringing us attention to Brian.
I said this to Adam too, and I said it to Mark before. That truck company is, I mean, anytime you want to go for a ride, I'll take you for one and you can drive it and show how it operates, because that Tandem Axle was a lot of truck.
lot of vehicle there.
Yeah.
Lot of vehicle there.
That's all I got.
I think all the Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, you had your hand up.
Yeah, regards to the manifold on 426.
Yes.
Truck 15 years old. The mate to that truck, the front end is exactly the same in the rest of the truck. you're saying how dangerous it was for 426 to have that rotted manifold. Whether somebody takes over it or in some circumstances, I've been around big trucks most of my life where they have to, they'll put an insulated oil tape to protect components. They don't like to because it degrades the metal, it causes moisture to get locked in and rot. You know, they used to pull out the dump trucks, didn't get run in the winter, but they got ran all summer. They didn't get run like beach trucks. So if you pull the front end, they'll see the part every year to check it. Yet our trucks do a lot of sitting, and I don't think they get the inspections they should get. But you said how dangerous 426 was. Well, Rescue 422 is the exact same thing. I know Brian alluded to it. Was that immediately checked after for the same situation?
I don't know.
That's the problem, because we got a truck sitting out there trying to sell that we're saying how dangerous the situation was. And we got guys getting on this truck every day.
We can
It's
add
the
that to our
same
list.
exact thing.
We can add that to our list with 426, or with Rescue 422 to get checked.
And the truck company is 20 years old, which is probably very similar. Because it could be the same thing. It may not be that somebody takes over it, even though they're alluding to that. It could be just a degradation of that metal.
They could have been taped and
Because
then it degraded inside it. And we said that right along. But either way, I guess the way it was explained to me, and I'm not an expert on these things, is if one is taped over, the tape is supposed to be opened up so that they can check it on an inspection, on the inspection. They're supposed to check for the integrity of the actual pipe. I don't know if they do that by banging on it with a hammer or they take the tape off or whatever. But what was explained to me was that truck should not have passed the New York State inspection. And that's one of the reasons that and he explained, because one, it's a fire hazard. Two, it's a you know, say you're sitting out a long night and people are sitting in there getting warmed up.
Sure, yeah.
It's a CO hazard.
Yeah, I get that, but have we looked into the rescue truck? Which is just.
I never
That could be doing it right now.
I never drew the line between the two front ends, but that's on my list.
Yeah, the truck company too, which is 20 years old. I mean, that may have been missed too. So it's that type of thing. I mean, a lot gets said, you know, you were saying stuff in the last meeting that, you know, the may have sent some vendors that left some stuff, not the vendors I've watched for.
It's not deliberate, and I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that somebody did it deliberately, maliciously, negligently, or whatever. What I think happened is that between the two vendors that worked on it regularly, they each looked at it and thought it was the other guy's responsibility, because it wasn't clear what the delineation of responsibility was with regard to the maintenance of the vehicles. Ronnie knew he was supposed to inspect them, but was he supposed to do repairs? Based on some of the feedback that we've got, only been working with Mark last year, was that when there were repairs that needed to be made to some of the rigs, and we had guys coming back to us telling us, well, the commissioners wouldn't authorize it. The commissioners never even knew about it and talked to about it. And so is the breakdown with the vendor telling the chiefs telling the commissioners, where the officers not telling the chiefs to have the vendor look at it? We couldn't even figure out where the breakdown was. And Bob and I went through this with, and I don't want to sound like I'm sitting here poking holes at any vendor, any particular vendor. But Bob and I went through that list several times with Vandermolen after we sent 426 up there. And it was an extensive list of, he had everything broken down by priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. And basically the priority 1s were things that he basically told us that he's going to make us sign on the dotted line if we take that rig out of here without fixing it. Because it was that, he considered it that serious. And the priority 2 were stuff that you should be looking at within, figuring out how you're going to pay for it, looking at it within the next 30 to 45 days. Priority 3 stuff, I can wait. And we let a large amount of the priority 3 stuff go. We didn't do that. We still spent 12 grand. Compartment lights, simple things like that. Why weren't they getting fixed? Was it the users weren't telling the chiefs that they were bad? Was it the chiefs not telling the vendor not telling the chiefs that they found it? And in the end, I got guys saying, damn commissioners won't let us fix it. We don't even know about it. We don't even know about it. We didn't know it was a problem. So that's what we're trying to.
Right, and I get that, and I get going with one vendor. But this is the truck that was, micro inspected. So,
Right.
when somebody came to look at it, they, they couldn't point out all these things. But my point is, the trucks that are still on the road, when
We
you
gotta get
found
them-
one's 15 years old, you found all these problems, shouldn't these immediately be
I think we need to,
thoroughly looked into? Because, I mean, they're, trucks are,
that's reasonable.
it's worse that they sit. than
So we
you're
look
in.
at moving up the maintenance on, and the inspection servicing on truck 4.2 and rescue 4.2. That's a reasonable ask.
And the other thing is,
We'll talk to Adam about that. I'll work with Bob on that. I don't know when they would be done normally. What was the other one you said? You said something else while I was talking.
no, I was just gonna say, you had mentioned too, that sometimes too many hands, in the soup. And that there were guys, you mentioned this last meeting, that maybe you're working on the trucks themselves a little bit, the members, which can cause a problem. Do you not want the members to not work on anything on the trucks other than checking the fluids? Because otherwise you get that weird little wiggle room, well, I just tightened 4 bolts.
That
Or,
came
no,
from
I
another
just did
commissioner.
this.
That came from another commissioner who told me that it was, and then actually said at the meeting that a lot of the wine and skill guys do a lot of the repairs themselves. And that came as a surprise to me when he said it, because I see the number of bills that go out. And I'm not talking about a light bulb, I'm not talking about a wiper blade, I'm not talking about, tightening a screw, replacing a broken lens, that kind of stuff. That's the stuff, that's what truck engineers do. That's what apparatus engineers do. That's their job. I'm talking about, God, I'll go back 100 years, but I mean, we took the old 9.6 out of service one weekend down at the old station and changed out the gearing in the rear pumping. We did it ourselves to save money. We had to bring a truck mechanic in, we paid him in beer, which he got at the end of the job. And he brought some of that, he got some of the heavy tools. But we were his laborers. And there were 4 or 5 of us that worked with him all weekend. And we're beyond the point that members should be tackling anything more than a wiper blade or a lens or maybe a light, those kinds of things. And actually, all we should be doing is doing a good job of reporting and sending it up, get it fixed up at the appropriate time frame. If it's a compartment light, we don't need to call for a service call right away to get the compartment light fixed. But it should go on a list so that when the truck does get looked at, hey, by the way, there's a compartment light out here. We're missing a label on a valve here. Those kinds of things should be, so that we've got a way of capturing all that. And as I said earlier in the meeting, with us running 6 full-size pieces, it's our responsibility to make sure that these things are ready to go.
I mean, the chief is gonna report, things that are broken, gonna report what has to be fixed. But it's really not his responsibility to decide when it needs thorough inspection and, an inspection like 426 got. That's what really needs to be done before you have these guys.
We'll talk to Bob, we'll talk to Adam about moving truck 4.2 and rescue 4.2. I don't know when they would normally be done during the course of the year, but let's get them done. Let's get them done. Good point. Well taken. Anybody else wishing to speak with her in the public session? Oh, you want to be public session tonight now?
I think maybe the board should decide who's going to be the deputy chairman. Maybe we lost our deputy chairman.
We probably should.
Who's,
It would have been Dave.
no,
Oh.
after Dave. Who's the
Person
next?
after Dave. Who's it?
It's Brian.
Brian?
Brian.
Dan, you're it. I make a motion that Brian be the new deputy chairman. Kendra, you watching? Scott seconded it. We get a second on the motion? See, you missed it. Do you accept it, Brian?
No, I like it. Nice.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It won't hurt that much. Thank you, Sean. I neglected to think of that one.
Ready for April?
And any other public session? Sure. Joe.
Over the other side of town, we did hear over the course of the month that you had a prospective buyer on 426.
We're working with a couple of fire companies. the level of need for this particular fire has dropped. They were looking to convert it to a rescue. They've since found and purchased a walk-in rescue out of Maine that fits their need. However, they flat out told me they can't afford it at what we're putting another market for, but they don't think it's going to stay up there. They don't think that price is going to be sustained. They've basically said that when it gets down to a level that they think they can make a bid on it, they will probably come back and talk to us about it.
The other rumor that was over there that you had an offer on it and you reduced it.
It's the same offer they're waiting. We had an offer of 50 grand on it. And we're based on Bob's kind of conversations with the vendor, we're putting it on the market for 79.9. And I just think that we're leaving too much on the table if we were just accept that.
Because the only reason I ask these questions, Rich, is, and you know as well as I do, you hear rumor mill all the time.
Yep.
And you know me, I just soon ask the question and find out the answer myself in front of you guys than hear scuttlebutt.
I was keeping David in the loop on all that stuff, and he was involved in a lot of that stuff. Right up until,
I never hear it from David, so.
right up until the time that he resigned, and right at the time that his resignation was official. So, I apologize that I didn't follow up with anybody
No,
since then.
that's fine, because they think because I'm in charge of the building, I know everything else. So, but it's not a problem because I'm kind of like Bobby, sometimes I'm.
What's more troubling than 426 is 427.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't even been a nibble on it since we lowered the price the last time. That's troubling to me. The fire company that came down to look at it, that rescue was looking at 427 to convert it for a rescue. They would have had to do all kinds of modification to it, including probably cutting off the rear step to get it to fit in their building. All right. And even if they did that, it wouldn't have given them the compartmentation they needed. 6, they could have done something with, and it had the tower. Light tower. But it was beyond their price range. It was beyond their price range. But they don't think it's going to go for the 79.9. They're
500,000.
Pardon?
Let's go buy new ones for 500,000.
Yeah. Well, it's a rural department in a community that's got farms and a couple subdivisions. No commerce to speak of, maybe a general store, a country store kind of thing. They ain't got anything else. So I understand they don't, and then they're a protection district too. So they don't even have the taxing ability that a district has.
I just had a quick, actually a compliment to follow up on something Joey just said. Like I said, you come here and you ask us. I appreciate that rather than rely on the rumor mill. You're not afraid to ask questions. There's no secrets. Ronnie asked a few months ago on something, and this is open government. We're all accessible. So I appreciate that you take the time to do that.
And most of you have my phone, my cell phone number. You got my email address. You get a hold of me on Facebook if you need to, Messenger. I'll answer. You don't have to wait till a monthly meeting to get a question answered.
I appreciate it, and I do talk to Bobby off a lot, it's just like, we throw stuff against each other all the time, so it's just like, we have a good working relationship, but again, I just still be the guy that asks questions if I knew guys, then, not, so.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Rich, did you say the caps was fixed on 426 or?
Say again?
You said the caps on.
Caps is operated, it's fixed on 426. And, what we were being told was they don't think they can fix it, even if they can get the part for it. They don't think they can get the part for it. And that was what was coming back through the circuitous route. And basically, they took it up there and fixed it. I gotta tell you, anecdotally, I gotta tell you a little funny with regard to it, because Bob and I sit here kicking ourselves in the butt about it. And I think we actually spent a little money on it. The truck sat here and we had all the repairs done. And then like a week and a half later, we noticed it was leaking again. It's like, son of a pig, we just got it fixed. All right. So we called Vandermolen down and said, hey, get your guy back down here. We just had this thing fixed. It's leaking again. We had to pay for a visit, I think. Yeah, we did wind up paying for a visit. You know what the problem was? It wasn't plugged in, so the compressor wasn't running. And as air bled down over the course of a week, week and a half, the drains had nothing to hold. The drains are air actuated. The drains had nothing to hold them open, or to hold them closed, so they opened and started draining. So now we rigged up a cord, so the compressor's running, hasn't leaked since. So, I mean, we're learning too. And if you could have seen me trying to drive to Brunswick with the driver's window open, because nobody could find the switch to raise the driver's window in sub-zero weather, the switch way over in the middle of the dash.
We
Like-
knew where it was.
It was asked. Nobody to ask at 7:30 in the morning. All right, anything else?
Been there for 15 years.
Anything else? Do we need to go to executive session for anything? I haven't heard anything. I think we're consider a motion to adjourn. Motion made? Somebody want a second? Nobody wants a second?
I'll make a second. I thought you
Second?
would make a second. That's
All,
fine.
or any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Terry, call the East Hill Dayton Cook and the East Greenwich Fire District.